Hello, welcome to December 22nd, daily December Dash session, live stream, whatever you want to call this thing that we're doing here for the month. Every day I will be live streaming, and we're covering topics every day that are designed to push you to designed to give you that momentum to push your own business forward, even in good times, bad times. And so we're going to have a really interesting conversation today. And I say conversation because there's going to be a little bit more of participation required in order for me to drive some of these points home. So, if you are on the call right now and you normally haven't been participating as much, now would definitely be the time to do so because I feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be a big breakthrough in terms of just how life is lived, how business is conducted, all those kinds of things. So, um, we're going to jump right into that. But before I do, I'd like to say hello to everybody. We're approaching the holidays here. Notice I said holidays, and we're approaching. If you're already in vacation mode, uh, probably not a good idea for you to be a business owner if that's the way you're thinking. I'm sorry. It's just a sorry, not sorry. If that's how you're thinking, probably not the best idea. I understand you got family coming to town. I understand holidays bring stress. We'll talk about that a little bit as well today with the topic, and I'll cover that in a second, what that is even. But if that's where your head's at, you need some adjustments, right? Not from me, but just from yourself, right? You've got to hold yourself accountable to what you'll let slide and what you won't in terms of activity, um, what you call a holiday, uh, what everybody else does should have no bearing on what it is that you make for decisions, right? As your decisions, I should say. Okay, so that said, as long as we're on the same page with that, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you as always. And let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. It's kind of funny how I said that, but here's the deal, folks. There's with holidays, it's really easy to tell where people are at mentally. Hold on just a second. Let me. Oh, that's my notification for um, the live stream we're on. It's really easy though to get back on point here for us to um, see where everybody's at,
Oh, I said
including
that, but
ourselves, right? Like in terms of mindset, and not just mindset, but state of mind, even that's produced from the mindset, the belief systems, and all those things, right? For example, uh, recently, what was that, yesterday, that the House and the Senate officially passed the here in the states what we call Congress, the House of Representatives, and our Senate, both passed the $900 billion coronavirus thing, whatever they're calling it this time. And inside of it has $600 stimulus checks, right? And I'll tell you something, there are a ton of people that, and it breaks my heart, there are a ton of people that were counting on, excuse me, their government to bring home a much bigger payout, some kind of a relief and helping hand. And while there is relief in the bill, it's been largely uh, condemned and made fun of and called out by the public, and it's not even been signed yet officially by the president. It may not be signed by the president. I have no idea. He could say that is not enough and veto it, which would, I don't know, that would really shake some things up. But my point is this, signed in or not, and no matter how much money check wise you get or not, one of the first rules of life I ever learned, and I learned the hard way a few different times in my life, is you never depend on the government to pay your bills. All right, even as a government worker, you're at risk for uh, maybe not being as fired. Being fired may not be as high a risk for you because you're a government worker, for example, at any government agency. You can be at risk from time to time, and if you do something stupid, obviously you're at risk for being fired. I'm talking about if you do your job or do the minimum standards and clock in, a minute before and a minute after or on the dot, then you're considered a good employee by the government standards. And they deal that you may not deal with cutbacks like that, but from time to time, occasionally, but you will deal with shutdowns, and that's what they've been trying to avoid is government shutdowns, and some of them have really put a hurting on people. Where there was one time I remember where the military was wondering, I believe I was in at the time actually, are we going to get paid or not? And I was like, damn, I never want to have that feeling again, right? And it wasn't the first time I had learned that lesson in my mid 20s there uh, at that point. But my point is this: you can't depend on the government to take care of you like that. And for those right now that are in need, I understand. I'm not saying I don't, or that I have no empathy at all. I do very much so. It upsets me to see our government compared to other governments. And again, you can't really compare it to other governments. I get that. At the same time, I know that much more can be done. Much more was on the table pre-election just to bolster people's campaigns, and now it's like less than half of that. What was actually on the table at the time, 1.8 trillion or so, between 1.8 and 2.2, I believe, were the sticking points, and now it's not even a trillion. And again, no matter where you come out on the politics side of things, I guess what I'm trying to say is people that are depending on that are in a completely different mindset, right? Or have a completely different set of belief systems to govern where they're at, what they're doing, because they're focused on a government handout. Nothing wrong with a handout when you need it, by the way. That's, I guess, my point there. However, your focus should not be on that. It should be appreciated, yes. I don't even, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to it. I don't even qualify for it. I haven't qualified for either of those checks. I probably won't qualify for any of those checks unless they start handing out checks to millionaires. That's not going to happen. What do you want me to say? There's really nothing else to say except mindset wise, they're not. Most people that are looking towards that stimulus check are not in the right mindset to, let's say, not the correct mindset for them to be able to realize their full potential, grow the way they want to grow. Because I guarantee you, most of them want to start a business. Most of them want to not live the life they've been living lately. And in a lot of cases, they just don't know how. And so my heart breaks for those people, and I want to reach as many of them as I can. There may even be a few of you on the call today. That's cool. I'm happy to have you here, and I want you to hear that. I want you to hear that uh, it's your belief systems, it's your state of mind that govern what you're doing, and and the results you see from what you've done, and it builds up over time, but very very quickly. It doesn't take years and years, and it's not overnight. It's somewhere in between, right? It's somewhere in between. Now, I say all that to say it's very easy this time of year, and especially with everything going on, to see where people are at mentally with things in their own life, personally, uh, with their families, with their jobs, everything, all that kind of stuff, right? And that helps us take a better account of our own actions, our own self. And a lot of people might feel like what's the term out of balance. Anybody ever heard of balance? Uh, anybody ever heard of balance? And by balance I mean like work life balance is most likely how you've heard that being referred to. And a lot of people talk about that. Oh, you got to be balanced. You got to find balance in your life, right? Anybody ever heard that? I'd like to know in the comments. I'm going to take a drink of my green drink here. Let me know if you've heard of work-life balance, balanced. Um, if you've heard of that, because that's actually our topic for the day, and I want to talk about that. But before I do, I need to hear from you in the comments section. Let me know if you've actually heard of that before, what you've heard about it before. Do you believe it? Um, has it helped you, hurt you? All those kinds of things. So I've got a yes so far. Somebody's heard of the work-life balance. That's good. And another yes. Wow, you guys are so talkative today. Jesus. Let me put on my talking shoes here. There's another one. Yep. Oh my God, you guys are crazy. Yes, I've heard of work-life balance. Adrian says, Adrian Bryan It says, "There's no such thing as balance. I do believe in having fun, but don't believe in the quote." Oh, there's not. I didn't quote anybody, but there's a lot of people that teach it, right? I would say, and I think you would agree with that. Yes, this was a buzz phrase a couple years ago. Yeah, well, not just even a couple years ago. Everybody's been on that kick since. Well, you hear it a lot. Gosh, there's people that have been teaching that all their life. And again, I'm not trying to criticize anybody for their beliefs or anything. I just happen to know that um, when you look at things, okay, no matter how good you are at getting your life and work in balance, right? Let's say you're awesome at it. Can anything come along at any given time and totally screw up that balance or put you out of balance? Let's say that would be the way to describe that. Is that possible? No matter how good you are, no matter how perfect everything is in balance between your work, between your life, can something, anything, multiple things, right? The smallest of things, the biggest of things, the largest of things come along and totally screw up your balance, your work life balance. And I would say it's not rhetorical necessarily, but I'll go ahead and answer it for us all. Yeah. So, okay, let's look at this from a logical perspective. Again, not criticizing anybody else that teaches this, to each their own, right? But here we are, and this is what I'd like to point out. It's so easy to see where everybody's at mentally, not you guys necessarily, just you guys, but everybody out there in the world, right? Does anybody out there, or very many people, or the majority of people have what we would call a good work-life balance right now? No, they do not. 100%. I think everybody would agree with that across the entire world. Uh, we've had some serious impacts to our way of life when it comes to that work-life balance, or what most people believe to be true about work-life balance, or have been told is possible and that it should be sought after, like it were a trophy to win in a contest or something, right? This is this is where your life we're talking about here. So I'm getting a little serious on you. I understand, but I feel like it's required. Okay. So when we look at work-life balance, we know that we've established that anything and everything could totally screw it up at a moment's notice without any notice, even. And usually happens that way in a lot of cases. We get blindsided by something we don't see coming. If that's your belief system and the way you believe, maybe you've heard it being taught, but you don't believe it, like Adrian and a few others probably. And that makes sense, right? That makes sense. You're suspect. It's sus to you. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at that going, I see what he's saying. I can't connect the dots. And there's a reason why you can't connect the dots. It's not about work life balance, it's about being what's called centered. Um, Now, everybody has a different center point, and you can be centered at any point along the uh, linear the linear view or visual of your life, meaning you can be centered all the way to the left, centered all the way to the right. And I'm not talking politics. I'm talking because that sounds like politics. I'm talking about um, for those of you who are married and have children, you could be centered when you are working with and on your family the most, right? And yes, there's going to be some work that's done outside of that for sure, but you're not centered based on a 50-50 balance, or an 80-30, or excuse me, an 80-20 or a 70-30 balance of work versus life. Um, it doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that, as we've already um, determined based on just basic logic and deductive reasoning, right? So we know that those dots don't connect. However, when you look at being centered, most people think of being centered as being, if something is centered, something is balanced. And that's true. What most people confuse it as, because being centered means being balanced, they think balanced and centered are the same things, and they're not, because centered could be located somewhere completely different than what you're thinking, not what we normally think of centered being in the centered, because the word centered means right in the middle. Okay, so it's a little confusing. I get that. Balance comes from equal, let's say, portions or weight on either side, or if there's multiple sides instead of just two, that they're all equal, right? Now, that could be a split 5 ways, split 4 ways evenly. Um, but balance can come from being centered, which would be something like a um, something more along the lines of where your focus is at. And here's the thing: being centered. A lot of people tend to, no judgments here. Just hear me out. A lot of people tend to be centered or choose to be centered around religion, right? Their religion. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing right with that. I'm just explaining just kind of a fact. Those that are enlightened enough to understand being centered, maybe not even actually understand what being centered really truly is, but they choose to live that kind of life without knowing what to call it, if that makes sense. Like the awareness level's not there, but they know how to live that life. Um, Kind of like I can tie a knot and not know the name of it, for example, right? But tie a good knot and tie it that way every time because somebody taught me to tie it that way, if that makes sense. Same concept. Not aware of the name, just know how to tie that particular knot, and I'm if somebody comes along and teaches me that, great, useful knowledge. I can teach somebody else later on down the line, but didn't really help me tie the knot any better, right? I already knew how to do that. And so a lot of people live that centered life based around religion. Now, if you don't have religion, again, there's no judgments here, and frankly, I do not care what anybody believes or doesn't believe, um, and I have my own belief systems, and that's why, because I'm not here to push an agenda, and I'm certainly not here to receive an agenda by any means. Okay, so please, everybody, keep that kind of stuff to yourself, for everybody's sake, not just mine. But the idea is, if you don't have religion, and most people tend to be centered or find a centered way of life around religion, and if you don't have that, or if you're in doubt on some of those things, then you can actually become centered on what I call a higher purpose. And that's usually where the few and far between, the uber successful people, the people that have a fire every day, because you'll go through moments of doubt on, I'll give you an example. You'll go through moments of doubt on religion. And again, if you're religious, there's nothing wrong with that. From what I understand, in my experience, uh, it happens, right? It comes and goes, not as often for those that are strong in faith, of course, but it does happen even to the strongest. It does happen, moments of doubt. And so, are you going to wake up if you're in a moment of doubt or a period of doubt? Are you going to wake up with that fire if your life is centered around religion? No. What about a higher purpose? Meaning, every day you wake up, you know that it's not achieved yet. For example, feeding the starving children, making sure everybody on the planet has fresh water, which about a third of us don't. Um, so meal dependency, pets, animals, strays, um, clean drinking water as a basic need for every human on Earth. Um, could be anything, right? Any of those things to make the world a better place or to make your impact, right? And if those things aren't accomplished yet, or if you're not complete with that yet, you're going to wake up knowing that, and there's a fire there. Even if you're in the middle of doubting yourself that you can do it, there's still a fire because it's a fact that it's not fixed yet. In other words, it's what we can see and feel and or see and touch right in front of our face versus what requires faith. Nothing wrong with it requiring faith. Again, no judgments. I'm just saying straight out that the very few people that tend to center their life based on that higher purpose, that vision that we talked about several days ago. Yeah, I'm talking about that again. And there's reasons why, because it fires you up, it keeps you moving, and not just moving, but really makes you move like you would if the world were um, going to shit completely and you had no time left. No time, no time. If you had no time left, right, then what would you do with it? What would you do with the 5 minutes you had, right? The 20 minutes you had, the hour that you had. Um, that's where, and so a lot of people look at that and they say, well, if you're centered on a higher purpose, then you're going to be obsessed, or you're going to be spending all of your time on that. And you can look at real life examples. Again, I've pointed them out before, but um, what any major what any major, let's say not major, but let's say what any significantly wealthy businessman or woman has done um, with their career. Almost always they've been labeled like obsessed, crazy, borderline crazy, um, not stupid, mind you, crazy, but uh, that whole obsessive thing, the obsessed. Um, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that label, and I don't think they do either. It's why it doesn't sit well with most people that are at those levels, because they view it very differently. They're centered. They're as cool and calm and collected as they'll ever be because they're doing exactly what they need to be doing and spending their time appropriately where it needs to be spent. So everybody that has families is, significant others and children, you're going to have you're going to be spending your time differently than I spend mine, right? And vice versa. Does that mean that we accomplish less if we have a wife and children, or a husband and children? No, no, not by any stretch of the imagination. You can even accomplish more than someone who doesn't have those in their life currently. And it doesn't; those don't play into it, if that makes sense. Now, I always talk about it's important to spend time with family and everything if you have it. And most of us do have some form of family to spend time with and to connect with, that we care about, that we love. And um, a few of us don't. I get that because they've passed on, they've moved on. Holidays are a hard time for that. I get that. And again, that kind of brings me back to the point of you really get to see if people are a work-life balance mindset around this time of year, because things tend to come really out of balance during the holidays, even in good years, right? Things come out of balance emotionally for them. Things come out of balance, and it can completely tip the scales in a perfectly okay economy, by the way. It just so happens that in a bad economy during the holiday season, it's like double whammy because people that have lost someone tend to remember them during the holidays, but then they also have um, the economy to deal with if it's bad. So my point is, you really get to see where people come out, where they stand. If they're satisfied, if they're happy with what they're doing, you can see it on their face. You can hear it in their voice. Uh, I've had a couple people, for example, bring up, "Thank you for what you're doing. I don't know how you're doing it. I know you've got all these other things you're running, but for you to spend this much time with us and all that, and I'm grateful to be able to do that, by the way." Um, but I think the thing is that I chose to dedicate my time here because I'm centered on it in terms of, yeah, I love doing all the other stuff that I do, no doubt. But this is one of my favorite things to do is to teach you guys how to build an agency and do it well and do it quickly. There's no better time of year to do that. Oh, by the way, random thought, not completely random, semi-related to yesterday. I figured out that fucking chart thing. And it was so funny because I jumped onto the mentorship call. I pulled up a YouTube video and I saw the solution to what I was having as a challenge in my in a thumbnail on YouTube. That's how crazy it is. I swear. I have pretty big screens, so the thumbnails come up pretty big. But I did get that chart fixed. I can show you what that looks like in a little bit. From the question that Mohammed asked yesterday about if December's the best month, what's January like? Is it shitty? Is it lower? And so now I've got a good representation of what where you should be spending most of your time, um, over the long term. That is, focus wise on the difference between agency building and client acquisition. So I've got a good chart correlation for you. I have no problem sharing that. I'm just saying I happened to figure it out yesterday, and I told you I'd get it figured out, and I usually am able to figure that kind of stuff out. And it was so simple too. You're gonna laugh when I show you what it is. But back to I'll get to that in a second. Uh, Back to work-life center, or work-life balance, versus being centered, and I think you're getting the point of what I'm saying here. And the good news for us guys, right? The good news for us, folks, is we are now aware of that. If you weren't aware of that previously, or if that's starting to make sense to you, or if that really jives with you, clicks with you, resonates, whatever you want to say, now you have a good understanding then of what it's going to take uh, to shrug off what most people would consider crazy or obsessed, or um, not overindulge, but what's the word I'm looking for? There's a bunch of different words to describe what I'm talking about. Um, just think of it as an unhealthy. Like most people, when they say that person's obsessed, they almost always mean they're obsessed in an unhealthy manner, right? In an unhealthy way. And it's notice how that's a judgment. I know we all judge, don't get me wrong. My goal is to be as judgment free as possible, right? Because there's so much freedom that comes in my own personal life, and will come for you as well when you don't look at someone and go, ugh, because that's a judgment, right? And we all have personal preference. I get that on when it comes to looks for people, when it comes to how people behave, things they do, things they don't do. I get that. We have expectations even that we expect people to meet, and when they don't, we aren't happy about it. And I feel like that's the wrong way to go about things. Uh, in terms of expectations and all that, but that's another topic for another time. I just wanted to throw that out there. The point is, being centered is not a popular uh, uh, perspective. Okay, it's not even well known actually, because again, there's so many different people talking about get your shit into balance, your work life balance. Got to spend time with the kids. Got to do that. Got to do that. Got to do this. Got to do that. And while I do encourage you to spend time with the family, um, and to not forget about them, notice I am very careful to never, very specific and careful to never say, make sure you spend at least 2 hours with them and this and that and structure, 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 because everybody's different. Some people need to spend 3 hours with their kids because they're at that point in their life maybe where the child needs 3 hours. There's no balance there. That's being centered. You getting the child what they need, right? So there's going to be times where the kids are later in life don't need mama or daddy right now as much, right? Um, just saying, right? I'm just saying. So there's that whole work-life balance thing is, at least to me, not accurate, right? It's not something I choose to follow. And if you look very closely, you'll see, while it may not be spoken about a ton, it's out there. Uh, Living a centered life. And you've got a couple different options there. Like I said, religion is one that a lot of people tend to gravitate towards because they don't understand the higher purpose side or haven't figured that out, or maybe that's not their ambitions. But for me, it's much more about a higher purpose. It's going to fire me up. There's no downtime on that. It's every day I wake up, there it is, right? And it fires me up. So, but again, you're going to be able to see during holiday season, and especially during a holiday season in a down year economically, you're going to see in on people's faces if they're enjoying what they're doing. So like when you look at me, when you look at my face, does it look like I'm enjoying what I'm doing, right? Um, am I fired up? Do I show up on time? Do I get excited about what may be seemingly the most random shit, like uh, a chart that I figured out from yesterday, just so I could show you guys the correlation. You get the point. There's that, and then there's the guys who will go on and make posts on, on Instagram, or make posts on Facebook, or and try and show the savage life they're living, right? That kind of stuff, and it really makes you wonder where they're actually at, right? Because I guarantee you they're probably having, in most cases, the feelings of the work-life balance being out of balance, and a lot of people have that, I guess, with COVID this year, and those feelings. So it's very easy to see where people stand, where they come out. The good news for us is that we're in a place where we're not only self-aware of that, but now we can help others, not necessarily become aware of it, but we can help others from our place of strength, because that's what we're supposed to do. We don't look down on people from ivory towers, right? Or from higher ground. We help them up to the higher ground, right? At least how that's how I was raised, right? We lift each other up, and so um, in order for you to do that, though, you've got to be in a good enough place yourself, right? On a solid enough rock yourself, up on a rock to be able to reach down and help, right? And let me tell you, there are so many people to help right now, um, more than I've ever seen, even more than the '07 '08 financial crisis. Uh, and I knew it was possible, but man, it just living it's just something else, for seeing all those people that need that kind of help. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not judging them for feeling bad about the stimulus or anything. If you're asking me my personal opinion, so all that said, that's me teaching. Personal opinion, yeah, stimulus is absolute bullshit. It's always been bullshit though. And yeah, it took 9 months to come up with $600. I mean, half the memes out there are actually fucking hilarious, but pretty accurate. Um, if you haven't looked at any of the Stimmy memes lately, it's quite funny, but at the same time, it shows people's outrage. And man, I'll tell you, if something doesn't change soon for the better, not just with politicians, but uh, the politicians of old, if you will, but um, just how we do things, how we view each other, how we help each other. If something doesn't change, a lot of things are going to break and um, find their center, right? Everybody's going to find their center without realizing that's what they're doing. They're looking for that work-life balance, and that's just not bringing them what they need. So they're looking to anybody that can help. They look to the government. Government ain't going to help. That's rule number one. Life lesson number one. Government ain't going to help. Shouldn't be waiting around 9 months for that. You should be looking at things like this, right? Like this business opportunity. Um, and again, one of the many reasons why uh, Ring Ads Free for Life is can save your life, right? Um, and I'm not even joking, right? It could literally save your life depending on where you're at, what you're dealing with. Anyway, all that said, I want to catch up on the comments, but I need to grab the link first for the Zoom because I have a feeling some of you might want to come in live and ask questions or get help for something. So I wanted to post that in the comments. So you can come into the Zoom room live, ask questions live. And when it comes to questions, if you don't want to ask them live, you can ask them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you with that as well. Oh, wow. Lots of good comments. Thank you guys for contributing. I always appreciate the feedback. Let's see. So yes, a lot of yeses. David says yes, heard of work-life balance. Adrian said there's no such thing as a balance. I do believe in having fun. See what I was saying about connecting the dots? Like that's, and he was talking about there's a quote. I don't know about the quote, but there's probably quite a few quotes about that. And that's kind of my point. Everybody's out there teaching that stuff. Again, no judgments. That's just what they teach. But um, let's see. Somebody was saying, Robert says all work does work and all play doesn't play out well. All work does work and all play. I don't understand what you're at. I think you're talking about all work and no play. I'm not sure what you're actually saying there. Oh, doesn't work. Um, all work doesn't work and all play doesn't play out well. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, there's going to be a balance that comes from being centered. So, for example, a lot of people say, "Man, you work all the time." Yeah, I do. It's my center. It's where I'm the most balanced. Man, you spend an inordinate amount of time helping people for free and doing this and ring ads and this and that. Yeah, it's where I'm centered. Do I get other things done? Absolutely. Do I enjoy my life? Very much so. Very much so. Um, because I'm centered, not focused on, well, I gave ring ads, this much time in my life. I need to balance it out with this and that. And no, I don't do that, right? Totally different way of living life. And it detaches you from not reality, because you're still very much living with reality in terms of stimmy checks and all that kind of stuff. And then but you definitely have an outside of the fishbowl perspective because you see how everybody else is reacting to the stimulus checks, and when you're at the point where you don't even qualify for one, right? It's kind of not that you're indifferent because you're a citizen, you're entitled to what you're entitled to in terms of what the government's laid out for you and all that kind of stuff. Um, but if you don't qualify, you don't qualify, and hell, there's a lot of people that pay a ton of tax that don't qualify that end up paying for a lot of that are going to end up paying for a lot of that stimulus. And again, no judgments, nothing wrong with that, at least in my view. It's our elected government. I mean, if anybody has a major problem with that, well, you know where to go and whose door to knock on to get that shit fixed. And vote or not vote, whether you believe that any of that stuff, all that's going to play its part in the upcoming election in 2 years. And this one has yet to even play out. So God only knows, right? Um, Mohammed says, sure, work-life balance is a well-known term. Yeah, so Nkwesi's saying, yep. So everybody knows that. That's good. So we established that. Um, when David says, when I was in corporate, I strove to give that to my employees. I was in an industry where my managers often worked 60 to 70-hour weeks. When they were managing an event, I compensated them by allowing them extra time to regroup between events. Um, that's good. I mean, that keeps them from burning out for sure. And burnout can occur. But then again, that's why I say find your center, right? Um, Maybe there are a few of those people. I guarantee you there's a few of those people that loved working those 60 to 70-hour weeks because they loved their job, right? As an example. So they didn't need as much time as maybe you gave them. Some of them, obviously not all of them. Uh, Adrian says COVID-19 took the world out of balance. Unfortunately, everyone was in some way affected, and that's my point. If you look at it as a work-life balance, yeah, you're going to be impacted significantly, and the impact is going to continue. It's not even really slowed down or stopped, if you ask me. So, and there are so many people of that way of thinking that it's kind of scary if you look at it again that way versus being centered. David says, I'm not sure how work-life balance applies to business owners. I work every day of the week at the moment doing something that affects my business. I've realized the need for periodic designated breaks to keep my productivity at a certain level. Yeah, that's good. As long as you're enjoying the work, breaks are good. I've talked about military breaks before. Every 50 minutes of work, you do 10 minutes of break. That's pretty common. You can go 12 hours a day that way very, very easily if you're motivated, if you enjoy your job, or if somebody's cracking the whip, one of the two. But if you're a business owner, then yeah, you've got to be enjoying that. In other words, be centered, being centered. Work-life balance. A lot of people do try to apply that to being a business owner, and it's very much an employee mindset. And when things like COVID or things like an economic shakeup come along, work-life balance is completely out of balance, and it leaves you vulnerable to um, decisions made by your government, for example, that may not be the best, obviously, and many other examples that it leaves you vulnerable to, right? For the out in the elements, if you, as it were. So yeah, work-life balance doesn't really apply to business owners as successfully as being centered. Adrian says, I think of balance more in terms of the four quadrants: health, wealth, love, happiness. I believe all quadrants need to be focused on in order to receive balance. For instance, if we focus on the business to the point where we end up not getting exercise, we could end up weighing 400 pounds and being at risk of a heart attack. So I believe to focus on all four quadrants to make them unified. Those who are religious may also include that as a fifth quadrant. Um, I've seen a lot of people talk about health, wealth, love, and happiness. Hell, there's even a drinking toast that's pretty close to that: health, wealth, and happiness, right? Um, I'm sure love is implied in those in the drinking toast, but I look at that and I'm not in disagreement with that. I just don't I don't subscribe to it, right? Personally, and to each their own, right? Um, I'm more of a find your center, right? And there's going to be parts of that bring the health. So, for example, at a certain point, if your life is centered around the work you're doing and your life purpose, right? What you're after, and you suddenly realize that your health is taking a turn for the worse because you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to incorporate that in so that you can remain centered on what your actual focus is. So again, it's not really an equal parts focus kind of a thing for me. You add what you need when you need it, very much so, at least for the being centered and living centered versus balance. And from that, obviously, will come the balance. And things will, if you're looking at it from a balance perspective, things will always come in and out of balance. That's why I choose, again, not to look at it more as a balance, but more as a centered uh, way of being, right? And again, love, believe it or not, comes and goes, comes and goes. And if anything, I give more love and receive more love when I am centered versus trying to figure out a work-life balance, right? Happiness, same thing, right? I'm happy. I share that more, uh, and receive that more when I'm the most centered, right? Uh, let's see. Andy says, "What is the work-life balance?" We got Jay trying to come into the Zoom room. I'll let him in real quick and catch up on the comments here. Let's see. Mohammed says, William, at present, aside from the U.S., which other countries are ripe for the picking as far as paper call industry is concerned? There's a few. Um, I would say there's quite a few, actually. Think first world. Google actually, if you look in Google support docs, they have a list of like, I think they're up to like 32 countries, countries like Canada, Japan, um, all over the place where they and have call ads enabled where people are used to and have been exposed to call ads. I'd still say the number one, the absolute number one market for you for call ads is going to be the US. And that's not going to change, at least for any time in the near future over the next couple of years. It may shift a little bit, but not enough to change that, if that makes sense. There are plenty of countries where call ads are acceptable, but in terms of population versus intent and what people are used to here in the States, we are very much a consumer driven society over here, for better or worse. That's what we are. And call ads work really well for that. Very, very well for that. So take that for what it's worth. Um, Miro says, when centered, one can go any direction. That's exactly right. I love that. I love that. Oh, it's not Jay, it's Sean. What's going on, Sean?
Oh, sorry, man. I don't know what the hell's going on. Zoom changed my name, and I have no idea how to change it back.
Oh shit.
I
I
was
have
spying on a competitor one day and did a webinar on under a pseudonym, and now I can't figure out how to get rid of it.
Jay Sparks. I love it. That's a good question. I've never even
I think I gotta uninstall it or something. I don't
no,
know
no,
because I
no.
went in my own Zoom and
Yeah,
tried to change my settings, but it still has my name,
I
so
got
I
it.
don't know.
Okay. Do you see the Zoom window?
Yeah.
Okay. There should be, if you mouse over your camera, you should see in the upper right corner three little dots
Mm-hmm.
and then click on rename.
Oh, okay.
I think that'll do it.
That's
Rename
funny.
yourself reconnecting.
Yeah.
There
Too
you go. You
funny.
got it changed. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
there we go. Because yeah, somebody wouldn't let me in yesterday. I'm like, let me in, and they're like, who the hell is like? You're not here. I'm like, yes, I am.
Why wouldn't they let you in?
Because they was said Jay Sparks, and they thought it was somebody. They didn't think it was me.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, too funny.
Well,
That's
now
what you
your
get.
name has changed, so you should be good to go for
There
that.
you go.
Yeah.
Right on.
So what's
How's it
up? What's
going?
going on?
Well, I know these calls are only an hour, and there's only 15 minutes left.
We
I kind
tend
of
to,
wanted to
well, Sean,
do a deep dive.
yeah, well, that's fine. We can do that. And just be aware, the goal is to make them an hour. But there's been, I don't know if you've seen any of the past calls or not, but there's been quite a few that have gone 2, 3 hours. So, and I'm not saying we have to do that today, but if you're saying deep dive, then don't worry about time, okay?
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, I'm like you. I like to give back, right? And
Yeah.
so, I'm just wondering, like, how could we do a deep dive into my campaign without showing too much, or do I care? Like, if we just do one client and like go really deep, threaten
Uh,
everybody with their life if they call my client.
well, I'm familiar enough with uh, from memory, by the way, for everybody that doesn't have any perspective on who the hell Sean is, everybody's like, who the fuck's this guy? He's been working with me off and on for the last few years, since I've been teaching this stuff more or less, maybe a year after I started, and now he's here at Ring Ads. He's actually part of the mentorship, and the scheduling of the calls just sometimes doesn't line up with his schedule. So I encouraged him to come on to one of these calls if he could make it, and he said today was the day. Um, so we've worked a lot on your stuff on the mentorship calls again, which are in that private group and everything. So that's the perspective for everybody else. For what we need to cover, Sean, what tell me what it is you're looking to do because you're saying deep dive on a campaign, but we've actually done that a couple of times I don't think you're actually going to need that much, or maybe perspective wise, as you think. So
Maybe not. I
I'm
mean,
wanting
I
to
really
know.
want to just go through the whole freaking thing.
Okay,
I'm
do
still
you?
frustrated with my results, and I know I can be doing better.
Okay,
And like,
so
I'm
you
to the
want?
point where I'm wondering like if I should start over with like 20 keywords and build out. So yeah,
No, no,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't do that. I wouldn't
I
do
want to
that.
do a deep dive. And honestly, the other thing is that I have like, I don't know, 5 campaigns and I have probably 3 more coming in any day. I just closed one yesterday.
Okay,
Um, I'm having trouble like finding the time to spend, every day in there optimizing. And so I'm looking for a way to optimize my time, but also, optimize the campaigns. Um, on that front, I have somebody that's ready to start with me that I'm probably going to put on salary because I think she could be an account manager at some point.
I gotcha.
So,
Account
and she's
manager or agency manager, like campaign manager.
agency manager. Yeah,
Okay,
like she'd
agency.
start as a campaign manager and then probably grow from there.
That would be a good, yeah. Most of your, not always, but you know that most of your agency managers come from the campaign manager position, promoted from within over time, because
Right.
they have an understanding of what drives the phone calls, but they also can learn all the sales stuff without being a salesperson and manage those
Hmm.
properly. And because they
Right.
manage numbers for a living, like that's a really good position for them to be in, is to manage more numbers, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and people that produce the numbers. So good
Well, and
call.
she's a graduate student from Germany, but
Oh,
she
okay.
can't find work in Canada.
Oh, that sucks.
And so she's working for minimum wage all over the place, and she's super bright. Like I give her an SOP, I don't tell her anything, and I say find the problem with it. And she goes through, and like an hour later, she's like, "This didn't work. This didn't work. I think we should do this." Like she's like, I
Nice.
want to hold on to her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a
So
good
how do I,
setup.
how do I start getting her in there and optimizing so that I can optimize my time? Because I want to get back to the sales side of things in January. I'm going to end my relationship with the other guys that I'm working with, and I'm just going to start over on my own because they're just holding me back, and I'm tired.
Are you talking about that partnership that you were referring to? Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, they're holding me back, man. I only grew by
Damn.
10% last year, and I'm pissed off about it. Like I want to double
Ouch.
this year.
Shit, you could
So
have. Yeah, with you talking about 2019 or 2020 growth?
2020, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow. This is like, I know it's counter intuitive, but this should be a couple 100% year, not a
It should have been,
10%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pissed about it.
Well,
And
the
it's
good.
not, they've held me back. And it's my own fault. I should have just cut ties a long time ago.
You get invested
Um,
though, right? Yeah.
True.
I had a couple of conversations about this yesterday, I believe, and maybe the day before, about that very thing about partnerships and how no judgments for anybody that's in a partnership. Here's been my experiences. Here's what it can lead to if it's not properly managed ongoing. Actually, it was a conversation I had with Adrian. I remember that very,
Mm,
very specifically in one of these December Dash calls. He could probably point you to um, where that was, because I feel like that would be very beneficial. And um, I'm glad you're making decisions for the benefit of not just you, right? Because that sounds selfish, but for you and everybody that you represent and everybody that you could be helping, that
hmm.
you're not able to because of these guys, right? Like
Right.
or whatever's going on there. So good on you for that. Good decision.
Well, you got to
Um,
learn from your mistakes, right?
always,
And
always.
what it's taught me is since I got into the agency gig, for whatever reason, I've always felt the need to have somebody else there helping me along the way. And what this year has made me realize is like I'm more than capable of doing it on my own. I used to manage 40 people in a gas and oil company, but for some inherent reason back there somewhere, right? I didn't want to do that again. But this year has just told me wholeheartedly, like if I want to build an agency that I'm going to sell, which is my goal,
Right.
then I need to do it on my own, and I'm more than capable of it. So that's what 2021 is all about, and I'm going to hit $1 million by the end of next year, starting from scratch, Jan 1.
I think you can do better than that, but that's just because I know where you're currently at right now. Um,
Hmm.
Okay, so my advice to you would be, if you're wanting to bring somebody in to do the optimization, right?
Hmm.
Which again, I understand that. What I would recommend is for you to systemize and process in a way that allows your person to do one campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's a bigger client with more
Mm-hmm.
data points. Uh, but given the fact that a lot of the clients that you have right now in pay-per-call have been running for some time, there's a lot of data for a lot of them. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily matter where that person starts, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
start with a campaign and optimize it, right? Make note off to the side on like a Google Sheet, for example, on everything that's been done to that campaign so that they then can be applied en masse to all the others very easily with a couple of clicks. So, for example, in fact, there's ways to leverage. I'll give you an example. You can create like a global negative keyword list.
Right.
It's not called global, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Where it applies to all the different campaigns. It's also one of the reasons why I talk about having one account for one vertical, because now you can have an entire negative keyword list that applies to all your campaigns. There are going to be some campaign specific negatives, yes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it shortens that curve of having to go into each and every campaign with all of the negatives that would apply for all the campaigns,
Yep.
and you just put them in one place one time, you're done. So my point is, in effect, by optimizing fully one campaign, most of the others are already done.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a few tweaks here and there on the others, and then any changes or any tweaks that happen after you go. Let's say you've got one campaign fully optimized, you go through that. Then on two, three, four, five, and six, right? As an example, you're at six clients right now,
Yeah, it's something. I think
six
they
or
have
seven.
five in pay per call, and then there's
Okay,
two or three more coming.
okay. So call it five. You start with one. The other four, you do the tweaks that are needed because that's all that's left, and
Mm-hmm.
you make note of those as well, each on each campaign, and then if they all apply to the other campaigns, you do the same thing, right? You go and make the changes, but you can make them en masse, very, very simple, or in bulk. And that's how you that's how you take five campaigns that would normally take you 5 hours
Mm-hmm.
or 6 hours every 3 or 4 days, or at least once a week. You can take that 5 or 6 hours and turn it into half that, right? And not only turn it into less time, but be extremely efficient in terms of what you're doing. So um, that said, structure wise, that's what I would be looking at laying out. You know what needs to be done on a campaign. What what are you seeing for results so far? Is it slowed down because of the holiday season, like we were thinking?
Well, it's definitely slowed down, but I did that competitor idea that you gave me,
Yeah,
where I went and scraped all the competitor names.
and
Um,
remove them,
and
right? You put them in a
yep,
temporary
I
negative.
negatived them out, however you say that.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really made much of a difference. And so
What do you mean it
I
hasn't
don't
made
know.
a
I kind of
difference?
wanted like you to look at my entire campaign, like just one of them as a fresh set of eyes,
Yeah, sure.
and maybe we can just come up with an idea. Because at the end of the day, the one that I have that's at 15 grand a month, my contract, like my guarantee, is at risk, and I went and spent 5 grand and bought some phone calls from another company that I vetted, just to kind of help get me over the hump in the short term.
Okay.
But I know I can get it figured out, and I know I'm really close, but I feel like I'm still missing something. Like I
Okay.
would say 1 out of 10, 15 calls is even close to good, and the rest are garbage.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay. And help me under, and I'll look at the campaign, no problem. You go ahead and pick one. Don't
Hmm.
put it up on the screen yet. I'll shift away from that. But
Okay.
um, what I want to know is, you said, and it was kind of vague, and that's why I want to get specific. You
Hmm.
said adding the competitors in a temporary negative, that didn't make a difference. What do you mean? Like either calls were still coming in for competitors? Is that what you're saying?
Hmm. So both. And I know part of the problem is like you can type in Morgan and Morgan 15 different ways, right?
Right.
So just by putting Morgan and Morgan isn't going to stop all those. Um, but when I look at my search terms for the last 14 days since I did that,
Right.
most of them are still competitor names, and it's still not triggering any other long tail keywords. Like I would have thought.
Are you adding in all the negatives that keep coming up?
I have been, so to an extent, not as much as I should be, obviously, but I still would have thought by adding the list, it would have
Well,
slowed part of it down,
it
right?
would, but that's the thing. Google's always, it's the path of least resistance, right? It's
Hmm.
electricity. And the rule of electricity is electricity will go wherever the least resistance is. And
Right.
Google will spend your money the exact same way in terms of AdWords. Like if you
Yep.
have, so you, what you've done is you've trimmed off a lot of tails, right?
Hmm.
Or tributaries or whatever you want to call them. You've trimmed all that stuff off to provide a main channel. And so it's going further down the pipe. I bet money you're going to see a difference in even the type of competitors that are showing up, like based on just adding those that initial list, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
keep doing that, and then
Hmm.
let's take a look at the campaign, and I'll shift away. I'll
Okay.
just come over to my face so that everybody that's all they see. You're the only one in the Zoom, so nobody's going to see any campaign stuff.
Okay.
Um,
You got my screen?
yep, I do. I can
Okay.
see that just fine. Everything's good. Uh, is this the campaign you want to look at?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, let me
So these
see
are the
here.
two groups.
Yeah.
This one is where I've confirmed
You know,
two phone calls actually resulted in a case for this one.
couple of things.
Hmm.
Your your bidding is set on enhanced.
At the ad group level, it is.
Well, it's going to operate that way for the keywords. Trust me. See?
How
Yeah.
did that happen?
I don't know, but that's part of the problem. Not a major part, but it's going to cause problems, I guess is what I should say. Your click-through rate is also, uh, well, it's only from the 15th to the 21st, but your click-through rate is staggeringly low.
Hmm.
Um, we'll have to look at that and figure out what that's all about. Yeah, it's like just over 0.5%. We want to see 1, 2, 3% overall. Um, I notice you're on that other ad group, you're also not getting any clicks. You're not getting hardly any impressions either. Is that
Yeah, that one's fairly new. Like I'm still doing
that's a
the
converted keyword?
dollar
I
per
got it. That's
day.
a winning
Yeah.
keyword. Okay. Um, below first page bid. Yeah, I would take the enhanced out. 47 impressions. That's pretty good for one keyword over the course of
Hmm.
over a
This
month.
is 30
Yeah,
days.
yeah, it takes time for that to kick in, and you've got to add all of them, right? Not just one. So if
Yep.
this one client only has one converting keyword in it,
The only other one is the injury attorney, and I just felt like that's the one that triggers all the competitor ones as well. So I didn't think
it's pretty
there would
vague.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a broad. We'll get to that in a sec. But my question is again, your ad groups for this campaign. I mean, go back to ad groups. You only had two, right?
Yep. Just the two.
Where are the okay? Help me understand because
So this is the general one,
that's your
is what it
okay.
should be
That's the
named
general.
general.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then the other one below that is
This is
what?
converted.
That's a converted keyword ad group.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have one general and um, one general ad group with general keywords, and then you have one ad group that is for a converted keyword, which for
Yep.
every converted keyword, you're going to have a new ad group. Okay.
Yep.
The first problem I see is I know you've got way more conversions than that. You should have a ton of those created, like a ton of the yeah, exactly those. You should have a ton
Right.
of those, like from and that's crossed from that's your data is cross referenced
Hmm.
across all campaigns. So, for example, most of the time, especially
Yep.
in an industry like this, you're going to have what converts well in Arizona is going to do well in Texas,
Right.
with minor exceptions, but most of the time that's going to apply. So that's the
Hmm.
first order of business. That whole process, by the way, I mentioned earlier about hey, start with one campaign entirely,
Yep.
and then apply it. Okay, and then go back. That would be exactly what I do here, based on
Okay.
what I'm seeing. The
So honestly, dude, I think I've only found two other keyword phrases that have converted that aren't injury attorney.
Okay, well that it's
And
better
that's
than
because I think, before I reconnected with you, all of the conversions that I were getting were on injury attorney where they
right,
were looking for a different attorney, but
right,
we teach our clients how to close those anyway.
right, which is good. And I know that we're trying to maximize the volume outside of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you still want to have them all in here so that they're all
Yep.
running because
Yep.
that's an extra shot for you to pull in or multiple
Sure.
extra shots for you to pull in money. Okay. Get rid of the enhanced on the campaign at the campaign
Yeah, how
level.
do I do that? What am I
See
missing
see
there?
settings over to the left.
Yep.
Yeah, click on that, and you should be able to go into settings, and then there it is, bidding. Uh, Deselect the checkbox there. Yep, and then hit save. Pow.
Damn, how did that get like that? I could have sworn I
It
changed
tends to
that.
do that by default, by the way.
Hmm.
And I've seen it happen where somebody changed the settings like you just did, and then they clicked
Mm-hmm.
refresh and it didn't take. So
Hmm.
it's something where like you definitely want to do a browser refresh, make sure it takes,
Okay.
I've seen that happen sometimes for some reason. Um, it just didn't take. And also, anytime something's uploaded, almost every time something's uploaded from the AdWords editor, it's going to turn it into enhanced because I think it's a default setting,
Right. Yeah,
which,
I've been doing it all manually,
okay,
so
well, not sure what happened there then, but if you're duplicating campaigns, it's also going to duplicate that over.
right.
That might have
Now,
been what
now I
happened.
want to look at my other. Well, these are all set to
Yeah, they're all
enhanced
hit set
again.
to enhanced. Yeah.
Fuck's sakes.
The other thing I'd tell you is this, like we should set up an ad group. I'm surprised you don't have that, an ad group set with um, auto specific specific to auto.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna ask you if I should do that. Like
Yeah,
have.
absolutely. Like the first thing that comes to mind is what is your client, who does your client serve, right? What
Yeah.
kind of calls? And you told me that was, if I remember right, that was your main, that was your
It's all
most of your
motor
clients, your monthly,
vehicle
it's all motor
stuff.
vehicle,
Yeah.
right? So you've got the general keywords down and that's going to produce results. Yes, you know what to do on the converted keyword stuff. I'm also not seeing any new keyword idea ad groups in here either, right?
So a new keyword idea ad group.
Four
Yeah.
of them. Remember the four software, the four that I
Yes.
pointed to? So
Yep.
uh, KW Parser, KeywordTool.io, um, oh fuck, why am I?
Uber
SEMrush and
suggest.
Uber Suggest. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And
Yep.
and one of those is pay. I mean, Ahref is okay, but it's a paid, another paid service. I'd stick with those four. Um, you're going to see a lot out of that for sure. And again, that's one of the things like you're wanting, okay, you trimmed out a lot of the ways where Google can spend your money. So Google's still trying to find those cheaper, which by the way, competitor names are some of the cheaper calls you'll ever drive. I'm sure you've
Right.
seen that. So until all of those are gone completely, then Google is no longer able to spend any money on that. They're going to keep finding ways to spend money on that, right? It doesn't
Yep.
mean it's a never ending thing. It's an
Hmm.
ongoing thing to continue to optimize for that. At the same time, though, you're lacking a few things that I think are significantly impacting your results. So yes, you've got some progress going on. What you need though is uh, you should have an ad group in here started from day one, which we'll get to in a second, on the auto focus, right? We'll come
Hmm.
back to that.
So
But
like I have one for auto, one for truck, one for motorcycle,
well,
one for pedestrian.
we're going to take a
Would
look
you
at the
get that detailed?
we're going to take a look at the keywords and we're mostly going to focus on just auto.
Okay.
Now if your clients do or if your yeah if your clients handle cases for uh, not motor vehicle but like slip and fall, workman's comp.
No, we don't
I know,
we don't do slip
I'm
and
just
yeah.
saying if you happen to expand into that, right,
Yep.
then you would want a different ad group for that because that's still
Right.
personal injury, but it's a
Hmm.
much different target. That's why it requires its own ad group. Okay,
Yep.
so we kind of established that, but you're missing, I mean, like a main specific ad group, right? And
Hmm.
on top of that, the converted keywords across all your campaigns are missing several of them, right? And then
Yep.
on top of that, the new keyword idea ad groups are also not there based on what we covered from the past. So you're running an improvement and I would bet your numbers support that. However, you're still seeing what you're seeing because Google's spending the money in places that it can. In fact, if anything, you might have seen an improvement, yes, but also a decrease in calls that may
Hmm.
not have been not called for, but uh, how do I say this? Like,
Shitty calls.
well, you should see better quality calls by the
Hmm.
numbers, but because your numbers are so small now, right?
Yep.
Because you've cut out all the other where all the other calls are coming in from intentionally, right, on the
Hmm.
competitor names. We're going to add them back in later, yes, but again, when you cut that stuff out and Google has to go and really find places to spend money, right, other places,
Yep.
then what you're going to end up with is hopefully a little bit better call increase, but at the same time, a lower amount of calls because you didn't do it, you didn't do that with the new keyword idea ad groups for Google to go and try those and spend money on. Does that and also the converted keyword ad groups as well, where we know it's going to make you money. So
Yep.
Google doesn't have all those places to spend money right now, which is why in your campaign you're seeing less calls, less activity, probably even less cost than what you would normally have seen over the last couple weeks,
Hmm.
even with the holidays, and still some competitor calls because
Yep.
you're not through all of those yet. You haven't given Google enough opportunities and ideas for them to try out that are educated, not just guesses, but educated guesses based on what I showed you with those tools.
Hmm.
Um, so this is your what ad group is this? Injury. Okay,
This is
so
that general one.
general. What I
Yeah.
would
So this
do,
one has like 200 and some keywords in it.
yeah, and I notice your there's quite a bit that are below first page, which is fine. Just be
Hmm.
aware. There's some a low search. You want to get rid of that one.
So get rid of, what do
Oh
they
yeah,
say? Low search?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You can sort by status and not pause,
Okay.
delete.
Just delete it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You definitely want to remove it.
Okay.
Edit.
I'll just leave it for now.
Yeah.
I'll,
When you click on it, the edit bar at the top shows you how to remove it.
yep.
Okay. Um,
Delete low search.
yeah, always do that and always check for that. Every time you do optimization, you want to be in the keyword section across
Okay.
all ad groups for a campaign and check for low search, delete it out immediately. It impacts the performance of the campaigns.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so what I was saying is the below first page bids are fine. Keep bumping your bids based on what I've taught you every 1 to 2 weeks, right? Really,
Hmm.
for this vertical though, for you to see a little bit more activity, you if you apply all the things I just taught you from before with what you've currently got going for you, you're going to see improvement. But I also want you to about a few days from now, so probably around the first of the year, I want you to come back and I want you to do another bid bump for your campaigns, right? Like a
Okay.
dollar or two, and every week, every 2 weeks at
Hmm.
that point, because you'll be optimizing very well,
Hmm.
and things will be systemized. I would come in and do bumps, right?
Okay.
And we bump until it's no longer profitable for that keyword, right? So for
Yeah.
example, you've got one keyword here that your mouse is almost on right now that has cost you. It's got you've got 2 clicks. Your click through rate's 1.47%, which is like almost triple what the ad group was, right?
Hmm.
It's cost you uh, 35 bucks Canadian, right? Total.
Yep.
And it's not specific, but it's also not nothing. And
Hmm.
look at what the first page bid is. This is what's so funny to me.
Yeah. 8150.
81.50 Canadian, right?
Yep.
And you spent 17.45 Canadian a
Yep.
click. I mean, uh, you may not be getting all the traffic, but you're definitely going to be able to tell if that's a profitable keyword or not, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yep.
And because it's so broad of a keyword, um, you're also going to be able to optimize based on all the negatives, not competitor negatives, obviously, but the other kinds of negative keywords that you can add to make that keyword, even though it's broad, still profitable
Right.
while not breaking the bank at $80 a fucking click. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
Just to
my
be on the first
math,
page.
I can, like the way I sold this with my math, I can go to 40 bucks a phone call. After that, it's like it's getting tough.
Right, right. And I think you're going to find that there's going to be some clicks where, um, It may be more than that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, they convert at such a high rate,
Yeah.
right, that it actually works to your advantage, not disadvantage. Not every keyword's going to be like that, though. The objective
Mm-hmm.
here is to find those through this kind of optimization. Um,
Yep.
what I would also say is we should probably take a look at some of your ad copy,
Okay.
just
So
based on what
before
I'm
that
seeing.
question, like all my clients are in the US
Yeah,
and I'm bidding in Canadian. Do you think that is causing a problem?
no, no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Problem how?
Well, like I'm wondering if because it's in Canadian and I'm competing against people in American, like is that a detriment to my campaign or is it a benefit because I'm getting it at 30% less?
No, no, no. It doesn't operate off of
They just convert it.
it's converted. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, it
So it
doesn't
doesn't
operate.
matter.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're showing you what the cost would be in your currency versus what it would be stateside. Yeah. So
Right.
that's not impacting it.
Okay.
Um, the okay, so we know what we need to do on the new ad group. Let's go ahead and start with the new ad group then,
Okay.
and mess around with that. Which well, we're gonna so click on the blue plus button there under ad groups, and we're gonna add in an auto based group. So whatever you want to call that, just so that you know what it is, and start with a default bid of like where your traffic started coming in. Like it's probably going to be for you. I don't know what it would make Canadian.
1050.
I was going to say something like, yeah,
I'll go to 15.
it's kind of
Yeah,
high. That's kind of
let's
high.
do 12.
That's still
1250.
kind of high. I would say. I
Yeah.
mean, because yeah, what does that equate to in US? Like eight, nine?
Yeah, 8 something, yeah.
Eight's not bad. Eight's not a bad place to start. So whatever that is, if it's
I
12,
usually
let's
start
say.
seeing impressions around 850 Canadian.
Well, then I would go with nine.
Okay.
Start with nine. And the thing is, you can get aggressive on bumping the bids as long as you're aggressively optimizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not aggressively optimizing, meaning in there looking at the data every day or every other day or every 3 days, it's probably not a good idea to just be bumping bids for no reason, right? Because you
Right.
don't want to spend more money than you have to get the same conversions, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so start with nine. You can bump from there. Now, start typing in over on the right-hand side. See where it says product or service? The next
Yep.
line down. Yeah. Now type in personal injury. There's several different words we can go with here, but type in personal injury and then do auto and see what pops up. Relevant to the business. Okay. Try personal injury. Let's go broad. Let's see what it does. We only show keyword ideas that are relevant to your business. To get ideas, enter a landing page. Why is it not showing you any results? That's weird.
What if I put the
Why is that not showing
lawyer's
you?
website in there?
Try that, but it should be showing you the results without a website.
Yeah, I found that that tool there is a little bit hokey lately.
Huh. It's the first time I'm ever seeing problems with it. There it goes. All right, so look for and type in auto in the product or service. See if that narrows it. Boomski. Okay. So apparently it wanted a website now. Maybe they're updating it to where the website's going to be required, which kind of makes sense. It's going to pull from the metadata and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, auto attorney, yeah, but it's way too
Oh, I
general,
didn't want to do
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way too general. Um, is that all the
But
ideas? I thought there was more than that.
yeah, you know what? Let's try Morgan and Morgan.
I was going to say, try somebody that is going to have,
They'll have buckets.
there you go.
I don't want just Atlanta though.
Take the whole site, yeah. All
Oh,
right,
all no, no, that's not what I wanted to do.
try without the word auto. See what pops up. car accident law firms, auto accident law firms. Those, I mean, those are like medium intent. They're not horrible,
Hmm.
but they're also not. It's not something I would start with on a campaign, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You should be able to scroll down to the bottom, and there should be a see more. Yeah, and you just keep going on that. I don't know why the scroll started you over at the top, but that's weird. All right, here we go. Best. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Go back up. It was best car. What? Best
Car
car accident
accident.
attorney. That's more on point. It's something I would consider adding because people are looking for a car accident attorney, but they're also not looking to get hired. Most likely, if they're typing in the word best,
Hmm.
they're looking for the best representation. So that's one I would consider trying for this
Okay.
ad group. What else do we have here? Good lawyers for car accidents. That's in the same, category there. It's
Same
not super
realm.
high intent, but it's definitely higher intent, right?
Yeah.
What else do we have? Car accident
Car
lawyer
accident
is a
lawyer, and
very
then just
specific location, right? So that's
so
not a bad
would you do that one and then just change the location to?
to whatever for your client. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Okay.
Let's see what else we got here.
Did it start me
Oh,
over again? It did.
it did. Yeah, for some reason it's starting you over on the whenever you hit see more.
Local auto accident
Auto,
attorney.
look at that one. Auto injury attorney, auto injury lawyers near me. That is about as good as intent you're going to find. And then local auto accident attorney. That's, I mean, they're either looking for a job for the auto accident attorney, but because they're
Hmm.
searching someone auto accident and not personal injury, that means they're not educated enough in their searching to already know that it's a personal injury lawyer, not an auto accident lawyer.
Right.
Even though they're the same thing, one's consumer intent using consumer language, which is auto accident, versus the other one, which would be a paralegal that already knows it's a PI that does that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that's and this is where a lot of for everybody else listening in that can't really see the screen, just sees my face. This is where you look at a campaign and a lot of your market research comes into play because you would not know that if you hadn't done your market research, right? Like you would not know that the consumer jargon is auto accident versus what paralegals and lawyers call themselves, which are personal injury, right? Hell, even in their marketing, there's usually a big gap, like on the billboards. You've seen this, Sean, where
Hmm.
the gap of understanding in the marketing is actually one of uh, such and such personal injury, right? Because they're trying to cast a wide net to cover all the personal injury cases they could ever pull in, right? Versus auto accidents, right? That's why you'll see in a lot of the more savvy marketers, uh, yes, I'm a personal injury lawyer, but they have slogans and jingles like Glenn Lerner. I mean, he had so many jingles it wasn't even funny. Have you ever heard of Glenn Lerner, Sean?
No, I don't know if I know that one.
So one of Glenn Lerner's many uh, slogans and jingles was "In a wreck, need a check,"
Oh yeah.
and so it's very specific if you notice. But he before that he used to advertise that he was personal injury lawyer, personal injury,
Right.
versus hey, in a wreck, need a check, and then came up with the jingle. Glenn Lerner's the way to go. Call 877-1500. Right? Like that's the jingle that he's got because he wants people to remember uh, not something that's catchy and sticks in their head, but sticks in their head because when they get in an accident, they know who to call, what the number is, and also
Right.
in a wreck need a check is very very specific. It's not, you might even I bet money that people have gone into his offices and said, "Do you guys do anything other than auto?" Right? Because they
Yeah.
don't know if he's a personal injury attorney like that or not, even though he is. Um, so let's see, motorcycle accident lawyer. Uh,
Could you do all the motorcycle related ones in its own ad group?
that's why I wanted to come in here and do some research first. There's gonna if there's gonna be keywords targeted enough intent wise, it's gonna be a very small ad group. Okay,
Hmm.
not that that's a bad thing, but it's also not. it's not a major. It's almost like you should probably just include it into the auto, unless there's half a dozen or more. So for
Yeah.
now, just put it in, and then
Okay.
if there's if there's more than half a dozen high intent, then yeah, make we'll make a motorcycle, right? Now,
Would you do this without the city as well?
uh, it's too broad right
Yeah.
now without the city listed or location that makes that higher intent. It's too broad without that intent, or without that to on the intent. What I would say is, as your campaign gets dialed in, though, guess what? It's going to be better for sure.
Yeah.
So let's see here. We're not even all the way through the keywords here. What else we got? That's okay intent, not great. Let's see if we can
Hmm.
find better. That's getting warmer, right?
The best accident.
Yeah. Best accident lawyers. Let's see if we can go back to
Oh,
that
where
and
did
work
it
our way
go?
down. No, you're it's going to be up. Keep going.
It was somewhere after this because I remember seeing this. It's like it's gone.
That's weird.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing this one though.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you do that one? I mean, it's
No,
pretty random,
it's
but
broad. It's broad.
yeah.
Too broad. That's still kind of broad. Auto crash attorney, right? That's still too broad, in my opinion, to start with. Keep in mind, these are things you can come back and add later after you've got a lot of negatives in, to
Hmm.
where the useless stuff is not going to cost you a ton of money, right? There's a good one. Holy crap. Yep. And the one above it is pretty decent as well. It's not high intent, but accident lawyers in my area is somebody's looking for one in my
Yeah.
area. Best implies that they're willing to travel for it more,
Hmm.
and there's a reason why those two are together in that list. Uh, Rec lawyer, not as much. Let's see. Oh, I saw MVA.
Yeah, I was trying to find the last one before I hit more again. But it's like it changes it.
Let's
Well,
see.
there's the rec lawyer. That's where it
Yep,
ended.
top rated. That's about like best. So yeah, sure. I think your campaigns are optimized enough to take that on, right? Um, let's see. Nope, nope, nope.
The best
That's
car accident
again,
lawyers.
yeah, that's pretty much the same as best personal injury law firms in terms of intent. There's going to be, it's higher intent, it's just not the highest intent. So
Hmm.
we're still looking for, there's been a couple of good ones that you've had so far. Um, do you have that PI attorneys near me in your main group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Best
Best
auto
auto
injury.
injury lawyer. Yeah, I like it.
Torts.
And everybody else listening in, notice we're not going after general keywords for personal injury. We're going after auto specific. So we've passed a lot of keywords that actually are good, uh, but just for a different ad group, right?
Where did that
Um,
tort go?
there
There
it
it
is.
is. Okay.
What did that say? Experience personal injury. What?
Attorney.
Mm, it's not. It's close, but it's just not. It's not something I'd start with,
Hmm. It probably has low search volume too, would be my guess.
right?
Motorcycle accident law firms.
Again, most people looking for an accident law firm. Yeah, yeah. I would with what you've got currently on optimization. If I were starting a brand new campaign, I probably wouldn't. Or if you didn't have any clients and this is your first campaign, I probably wouldn't put that in there. But it would be something to earmark and put off in a copy paste sheet for later, kind of a thing. See, top
Okay.
rated car accident lawyers, right? That's going to be good.
Do you ever do these ones where it says reviews?
No, I usually
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. Let's see. No,
Automobile
look at
accident
that.
lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Automobile accident lawyers near me. My God, if you know, the keyword ideas that'll come from that too, by the way, because it's such a long tail,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the quality of call that's going to come from that, it's someone looking for an auto lawyer, right, or personal injury, what they would call an auto accident lawyer, right? And they're looking for one near me, right? So their intent is the highest it's ever going to be for a very specific service that your clients offer.
Yep.
And because it's a long tail, it's not going to cost $80 a fucking click like injury
Right.
attorney would, right? You see what and you're going to pull keyword ideas from it based on what I've taught you to do. So there's a lot to that. And I know that this is a pain in the ass. I get that. But here's the cool thing, Sean. What you're doing right now for the auto keyword ad group for personal injury here,
Mm-hmm.
you only have to do this once.
Right.
Like and then it's duplicate for all your other campaigns. It's easy. A couple of clicks and it's copy pasted into all your other campaigns. And so really the most amount of work campaign wise initially is with this process right here. You got to find good keyword intent, high intent, high purchase intent keywords. Um, it's funny because now I'm starting to see other people talk about high intent keywords because they're
Mm-hmm.
starting to realize, okay, everything else in Google also is focused more on higher intent because they see they're learning now from what the call ads have taught them, right? Because there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
data there for them, and they're seeing, okay, a lot of people have much more intent than maybe we thought, not just to click on a site and go visit it, but to actually purchase. And if you look at the other ad platforms like Facebook and especially Facebook, you'll look at they even have specific types of ads and campaigns that you can create for conversions uh, that you can run cold and it'll auto
Mm-hmm.
optimize for it. Not the best idea, but you can do that. And so Google looks at that and goes, um, intent and purchase intent is almost always a thing, and uh, almost always driving someone's search unless they're researching. So they've understood and have started to identify the difference between someone searching and someone in the market, right? And I know they've had
Yeah.
audiences for a while, but now they're really dialing them in, if that makes sense.
Well, I
Uh,
think that's what all that Google screened shit is, or the Google local services. Have you
well,
seen those?
yeah, the local service ads, yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's that.
They
They're also,
figured out their
yeah,
prime inventory and now they're selling it by the lead instead.
well, they're trying to, and they're not as successful as they'd like to be with it. A lot of people have as many people that don't like Home Advisor. There's about as many that don't like local service ads, believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not. Um, in some cases, it does work, right, and in some it doesn't, and that kind of inconsistency is not healthy, right, for an
Yeah.
agency anyway, and its clients. The other thing is like Google Forms, you know that they've been beta. Well, they've had that in beta for a while, um, and I'm not sure if it's launched to the public yet. I think it has been, but it's one of those things where form forms come from the idea of I don't want to talk. I'm in the market, but I don't want to talk to somebody right now, and it's something I can charge for if I'm Google, right? That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking,
Yep.
because that's what I know about my market. They're in the market for it. They want some information. Send me some fucking info. But when's the last time you ever heard "send me some more information" that you actually got the deal? It happens,
Not
but
very
very
often. Yeah.
rarely, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
rarely. So that means you're spending a ton of money. And I'm not saying forms are going to be bad, right? Now, if there's a way to take, for example, a form ad and tack a phone call onto the back of it, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we can do that with Facebook lead ads, right? So there's things that we can do like that, or possibly can do on the Google Ad side for the forms. But that should give you an idea of what they're looking at. They're trying to, you're right, they're trying to monetize their inventory for people that are in market. If you notice, not just
Mm-hmm.
with phone calls, but any kind of ad they can get to
Right.
because they also know savvy businesses are going to buy form ads and fill the pipeline so that they can
Mm-hmm.
continue to market to them. Um,
Right.
but we're more focused on getting our clients instant results, immediate results. and
Yep.
expanding out from there. So, um, vehicle accident law firm. Again, okay, just not highest intent,
Yeah.
right?
Would you take this one?
No, same
No.
kind of
Okay.
intent,
Yeah.
right? Attorneys at law near me. Do you have that?
I
Do you
don't know
have
if
that
I
in your
have
general?
that one.
Okay,
I don't think so.
okay.
Maybe I'll throw that in
What you
there.
can do is come back later and as you go through this, um, get. I always like to spend my
Oops.
focus on. So when I ask questions like that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking not to immediately go and write it down. Okay,
Yep.
I ask it so that I can say, "Yep, I do need to go back through this for the general," right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I make sure that my focus is only on the auto for now because that's what we're on. And then now that I've confirmed that I need to go back to the general ad group and add some keywords or check on them, I'll do that, right? That whole
Yep.
thing. But there's been quite a few good keywords here that I know are going to drive uh, some calls. Let's see here.
Trying to find that slip and fall. There it is. That was the last one.
Local auto accident lawyers. That's pretty decent. It's pretty decent intent. What else do we have? That one, but that's for general. I
Mm-hmm.
wonder. I wonder if you have that
I don't know if I have that one.
because
That's
that's
pretty
a.
long.
I mean, look at it. It's good. That's five
Mm-hmm.
words. Best personal injury. Oh, is it six? Excuse me, because I can't fucking count. Best personal injury lawyers near me. Shit, man. It don't get
Yep.
much better than
Got
that.
that one noted.
Yeah, and that's for the general group. So click on yeah, see more, and then scroll back down. I'm not sure why it's starting you over like that. Maybe it's
Because Google's interfaces suck.
well, usually it hasn't done that before in the past. Like I've never seen it do that. So
Where the
maybe it's
hell did
something
that
browser
go?
based or I don't know.
Okay, there's that
Yep,
one.
that's a good one. That's solid. Motorcycle accident. What was that?
Motorcycle accident lawyers near me? Yeah.
Yeah, really good. So now we've got up to how many motorcycle keywords do we have? By the way, this is something I would look at. One, two,
Three,
three, four,
four. Yeah,
four.
four.
Okay, so we're getting
Yeah.
close to that half a dozen. I mean,
So
not
these are probably good too then, hey?
auto attorney near me. Not bad. It's not bad. Traffic accident lawyers near me is 100%, but those are more. Let's see, traffic and auto. Yeah, those fit. Motorcycle accident attorney near me. See, now you got five, right? You're. I
Yeah.
think you've got enough. I think you're gonna have enough. Let me rephrase that. As you continue this process, I think you're gonna find enough for motorcycle to have its own ad group. Go ahead and what I would do is add them into this ad group so that you have them all, and
Mm-hmm.
then go and split them into the motorcycle and then this one, and then I'd
Okay.
also go back and do the same damn thing for truck, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right, because I know that's a big one you said for a
Yep.
lot of your clients.
Well,
Uh,
those cases are worth like
exactly.
crap tons of
Well,
money.
there's corporations involved as well. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of corporations actually.
I had one lawyer at one point tell me if I could get semi accidents, they would pay me 20 grand for one of those.
So set up an ad group for it and run
Exactly.
and run the highest intent and then pull new keyword ideas out of that 100% and optimize of course as you go. But yeah, I mean that's I'd say what is that? Maybe almost a couple dozen keywords total
Yeah. Let's
as
keep
a good
going for
example.
time's sake. Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course because it's auto based, you can design your own ad copy around auto accident attorneys. And because now you know that most of the keywords tend to have auto accident in them, even if we don't say that because we're educated enough to know, not that everybody's uneducated, I'm just saying we are in the know, we are in the industry, we understand it's personal injury. What most people are looking for though is an auto, someone that specializes even in auto accident, right? Uh,
Right.
under personal injury. So personal injury can be part of the ad copy, sure. Lawyer and attorney and or attorney definitely needs to be in there, right? But more than anything, auto accident is going to need to be in there. Is kind of what I'm getting at. because that's what most people are going to identify with and what most people have typed in based on our our keyword selection for that ad group. So that's what I would say for that.
So what do you usually put in the final URL?
The same as the verification.
Okay.
Yeah, that same URL. What's
And
the
then would you
what's your triangle warning there?
the HTTPS?
Oh, you're not okay. You're not using SSL. Got it. No worries.
No.
The display path is optional. It's just what displays. So
Mhm.
again, because people are going to be for this particular ad group that we just covered on keywords, they're going to be looking for auto accident. Wouldn't be a bad idea to have see if auto accident will fit. I think it will. See if you can do a hyphen between auto and accident, so it's easier read. Bam, and then do city, or maybe city and then auto accident. But I think auto accident and then city would be better, right? I think that
Yeah.
looks much better. Yeah. Now,
Yep.
see, when I look at that ad, right? What does
Yeah.
that instantly tell me?
That's sick.
See what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
it says personal injury,
Can you
right?
do this, or is that a
Yep.
no-no?
It says this is my I don't think it's gonna take on capitalization, but it doesn't matter. The point is, it's gonna somebody's gonna look at that and say, okay, just off the domain and the
Hmm.
display path, they're gonna say, look at that personal injury. That's right. Like somebody who typed in auto accident is gonna be like, oh yeah, personal injury is what I meant. Thanks for recognizing that, Google, right? Even though you're the
Hmm.
one that did it. And
Right.
then they're gonna see auto accident, which is, oh man, maybe these guys specialize in that, and it's where I live. Yep,
Right.
that I'm in the right place. Like it's an almost not instantaneous, but near instant understanding recognition of that just in the domain name. Then they see headline one, headline two, and again, like I said, the focus should be on auto accident and
Hmm.
attorney or lawyer, not personal injury. Personal injury can be something you can split test and add into the ad extensions, right, on call
Hmm.
outs, for example. But because auto is the focus here, I would keep everything about the auto, right, about auto accidents, right.
Yep.
So any kind of qualifiers that you can add, for example, I know you've got a call center that you run all your calls to. That's cool that they can qualify, but at the same time, you're not trying to spend money on something that's not qualified. That
Yep.
costs you money. So you want to last 12 months, right? Whatever the statute's going to be, right, for a personal
Hmm.
injury case based on the client and the state that they're in.
Yep.
So injured in a wreck in the last 12 months, right? Remember, you got to
Hmm.
target the problem with a question. It's too many,
Not too many.
right?
Injured in an auto wreck
Right. Injured in an auto wreck, and then
recently. Oh, I won't even let
I would
me
do
fit
question
that.
mark. I would do question mark on this so that people know to read that. Um, can't do recently. What you can do is the second headline could be last 12 months or whatever it is. Is it 12 months, 2 years?
Yeah, usually you don't like to go much past.
Much past 12. Okay, so
Yeah.
um, mm, this piece right here should be in the description.
Yeah.
That's a qualifier for the description line one for sure. Yeah, I would
We
say
usually
headline
say
two.
something about like get the compensation you deserve or something like that.
Uh, what with this particular, and I know every client's different, but with this
Hmm.
particular client, do they do consults?
They all do free consults in
So
this
they're all
niche.
free. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, some do paid. Some do paid.
Yeah,
Um, that's why I was asking. Okay, so they do free consult.
most of them do
Then
free.
I would offer free consult, right?
Mm,
Call now for free consult. And if it fits, for your free consult.
damn,
Boom.
that's awesome.
30 out of 30. That's why we're laughing, folks. It's 30 characters out of 30. So call now for your free consult. And again, you're going to want to split test these ads, but this is give us a good starting point. Is kind of the point here. Um, what else?
Henningsen injury attorneys.
Do they speak Spanish? Does your call center speak
Yes, they
Spanish?
do.
Then you should probably in your ad extension or at least your ad extension, if not description line 1 or 2, have "Se habla español," baby. Right?
Hmm.
That's a big one, and I guarantee you it's going to do well.
Okay.
That's another reason why auto accident makes more sense because what, and again, no judgments here. I'm just saying if English is not their first language and Spanish is their first language, right? And they're living in
Hmm.
the United States, um, no matter whether they're a resident or not, has no bearing whatsoever on their language skills. So let's say, uh, what would be the what would be a word that you would know first? Auto
Oh, yeah,
or personal injury, right?
auto for
Auto
sure. Yeah,
accident versus, yeah. So
yeah.
when they see that, they're going to be like, I'm in the right place. And then they're going to see, oh shit, they speak Spanish. Fuck yeah.
Hmm.
And they're going to call.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. So this might be a good idea for you to run. And this is actually a great way for you to generate calls in the Spanish market, I might add,
Hmm.
for split testing based on like create a brand new campaign, exact duplicate of this, change the language to Spanish, and then run a
Yeah, I was
complete.
gonna ask you if you do that.
Yeah, well, as far as expansion, yeah, there's going to be not every market, but the markets where obviously they speak Spanish. Like, I'll give you an example:
Hmm.
San Antonio,
Yeah.
Houston, anywhere in the Southwest, anywhere in California. Um, Again, not poking fun, but I'm laughing because like you're leaving money on the table,
Hmm.
and it's laughable if you're not running Spanish ads, even if you don't speak fucking Spanish. Like you can find someone that does say habla, all right,
Yeah.
and I'm not fluent in Spanish by any means. I'm rusty as hell. I used to be like a level 3, which means I can still probably navigate my way around. But
Yep.
in terms of like actually having a good small conversation outside of how's the weather, how's the food, I'm probably not going to be uh, considered intellectual, right?
Right.
In Spanish language with the Spanish language. So, but can I use things like Google Translate and my own skill set for uh, Spanish? Yes, absolutely. Um, and there's a lot to be said about targeting language like that because you usually don't see people target Spanish ads for things like this. Usually, right?
Right.
Because they're so focused on speak English or get the fuck out kind of an attitude. I
Yeah.
hate saying that, but it's true.
No,
There's
you're
a lot
right.
of
I'm
there's a
about
lot
to
of fucking
start.
people that think that way for some reason, and I,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
about to start testing Spanish ads in Facebook too,
I'm not
actually.
saying, by the way, that I agree with that or disagree with that. I feel like our national language is English, so it should be an effort should be made, especially if you want to be naturalized as a citizen, to learn the English language at least to a proficient level, not as your not an expert level, but proficient. Um, when it comes to speak English or get the fuck out, that's just rude.
Hmm.
That's not how I was raised. However, there are so many people that refuse to learn English, right? I think that's kind of created that whole attitude.
Yeah.
Um, but for many many years now, it's press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, right?
Hmm.
Um, on phone trees. So if you're not running this in areas where it's very clear that there's a Hispanic population that speaks Spanish or exclusively speaks Spanish. And keep in mind, some people resolve themselves to being too old to learn a new language or don't care to learn a new language. They're in their 50s, 60s, whatever, up, and Nana don't want to learn English, right? No problem, right? But when Nana's in a wreck and needs a check, maybe she's looking at Spanish
Right.
ads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, or somebody else is, and there's plenty of examples of where bilingual, right? Children, second generation, first generation, second generation, even third generation that speak Spanish fluently because they were raised on it and English, but still, like they'll have conversations um, of this kind of trust level because you got to understand we're talking about a vertical. It's not like you're going. It's not like we're talking about the paper towel industry, man, or toilet paper, right? Where you go to the store and buy it. We're talking about an industry where you have to give intimate details of not just your life, uh, and things like birthdays and social numbers, social security numbers, and all that kind of stuff, but also in citizenship. But you also have to give intimate details of a specific part of your life, the accident and all the things that have resulted from it. You can't just trust that with anybody. That's a higher trust level kind of conversation. And I'll tell you right now, if you're fluent in Spanish, you'd prefer to even to have that conversation with someone who also speaks Spanish fluently
Sure. Of
because
course.
you have that in common. There's a trust factor. Like this person is
Hmm.
not going to lose in translation
Yep.
what I mean when I say this is how I felt or this is what happened. Um, Versus English maybe not being the best, my best language or my first language, my native language, whatever, and losing something in the translation. So there's definitely something to be said, not just for this vertical, but for a lot, but definitely for this one, if there were one, for things like say habla español, for sure, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing, this client, the person that takes the phone calls after the call center, which the call center also has Spanish, um, she has a Spanish background, so like that's
Sweet.
her first language.
Mm.
So I just asked my account manager to see if she's okay if we run ads in Spanish.
Dude, she'll appreciate it. She'll appreciate it. You know why? Think about this for a second, guys. Put yourself in the shoes of of your client. If they have someone that Spanish is their native language, right? And they know English well enough to not only have conversations but have highly trusted conversations on the phone with sensitive information, um, which actually could be, I mean, if she gets her job wrong, she could be uh, held to account for that, right? Like she could totally fuck up her career if she doesn't do her job well. Um, Not saying she would do that. I'm just saying that's the level of security involved, right, with that kind of sensitive information. So if you put yourself in the shoes of your client for just a second, and Sean, you do this too, since I've got you on the call, and you're all of a sudden as an agency reaching out to your client saying, "Hey, you're not, but your agency is, right?" Which is
Hmm.
effectively you.
Yep.
You reach out to your client, whether it's you directly or somebody that works for you, and you're saying, "Hey, I know that you take Spanish cases, right, or people that speak Spanish, but and I know that you're native speaking, right? But entertain? Would you entertain? Are you guys comfortable entertaining people that speak Spanish, right? Because I'm thinking about running some calls for people that speak Spanish, and if you were obviously she's not the business owner, she's the one who runs the phones and takes the clients, but or takes the cases. Um, Onboards the cases most likely for the lawyer, but she's going to have some kind of an appreciation for that that can't be explained. I
Hmm.
promise you. I promise you. It's almost like helping out those in need, those that are really in need. Not that because let's face it, if you speak English as a native language, right, you can probably get an attorney with little to no fuss, right? In most cases, if there's a case there, I'm saying.
Hmm.
Whereas if English is not your native language, you speak another language. How challenging would it? How much more, let's say, challenging could it be for you to actually find a lawyer to represent you?
It's
You see what I'm
huge.
saying? It's much
Yeah.
more. It's much more so. And so, for you to offer that shows them what about your agency, your clients. What does it show your clients about your agency?
Well, A, we're different than a lot of other agencies out there, and that we
Differentiation.
really care
Yep.
about their
You
results.
care about the results. That's exactly right. I would have probably led with that one. Different for sure. It's definitely differentiates you from the rest of the market, but more than anything, shows that you actually give a damn about people getting helped, even people that don't speak our native language. You know what I mean? Like if anybody needed more help than anybody, then it would be those guys because God Almighty, you don't know if they're going to find anybody or not, or the struggle for them to find good representation. Uh, and in a lot of cases, they're the people that need it the most, the people that are
Right.
the most vulnerable, which sucks.
Yep.
But not with Sean on the case. You know what I'm saying? Not with your agency on the case. And so your clients are going to see that and go, damn, nobody has ever in the history of selling us leads or selling us phone calls or doing any kind of agency work for us has ever or very rarely ever talked about the bilingual aspect of our business.
Yeah, and I mean
And
the only reason I've been hesitant to do it in the past, quite frankly, is I can't listen to the calls to tell if they're any good,
you can,
right?
but it's something you expand into. So this is my point.
Yeah.
This is where having half a dozen clients versus 2 dozen clients makes a difference. So
Yep.
if you have 12 clients, well, I know you're working on client acquisition. So but the idea is when you get to like 12 a dozen clients, 2 dozen clients, it's much easier for you to actually hire a dedicated bilingual
Right.
customer service rep that can listen to the calls and help you pull that data, right? Um,
Right.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to do too because that's when, like I said, a lot of things happen in business. When you look at a duplicated campaign that's targeted Spanish, do you want to take a guess at what the cost per click is?
I'm gonna guess it's quite a bit less, like
Yeah,
significantly
yeah,
less.
yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? Guess what the volume is?
It's probably higher.
It's not necessarily higher, but it ain't
Depending on the
low.
market, I
Right.
guess. Yeah. Yeah.
It's market dependent, yes, but it's also not low. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yep.
we have a lot of Hispanics in this country, right? No matter
For sure.
how you feel about that, better or worse, I'm totally okay with it. Hell, I live in Vegas. I mean, that should tell you a lot. I I encourage it. I think it's great. I think it's good for the economy. I think they're very as a people as a culture. Um, they are very family oriented. A lot
Hmm.
of them tend to be religious or on the conservative side.
Hmm.
Um, good family folk that care about providing and taking care of their own. Even people, even family they don't get to see. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
um, so anytime you can help people out like that, more than not, you know, there's going to be a reward for the people that do those kinds of things, and your agency is going to have the ability to expand in that market. Because another thing is community. It's community based. So uh, mindset wise, if you look at if you and I were traveling abroad, right, and ran into each other, even though we haven't hung out a lot, because we're in a foreign country, uh, and we both speak the same language, and we have spoken before, or even just the fact that we speak the same language and we're from the same country, we might at least entertain the idea of having a drink,
Hmm.
sitting down and catching up, sharing learning experiences because we have at least the language in common. And I'll tell you something with the Hispanic culture, when they have language in common, it goes much deeper than just language. And you can tell. You can tell.
Hmm.
Like when they start popping off to each other with Spanish as opposed to English, right in the middle of a conversation, and you're sitting there and you're catching some of it even in my case, but for everybody else, they're like, what are they saying? Are they talking about us? You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But what they're doing is actually catching up with each other, and they don't even hardly know each other in a lot of cases, or they're talking about things that again are community and family oriented. And very few cultures you'll find that, but that is definitely one of them.
Hmm.
And that's cool because when you have, for example, hired someone on your staff that does the bilingual side of things, you're now increasing the quality level for that type of service to that community,
Yep.
and the Hispanic community will reward with their wallets, right, and also with who they choose to do business with, or even Hispanic influence communities. So for example, a lawyer in San Antonio uh, may not be Hispanic himself, but because the majority of his clients are Hispanic, maybe, right? Uh, he sees what you're doing. You're one of the few guys that not only drives phone calls, but one of the out of those few guys, you're the only guy that has someone that can speak Spanish on his staff, or multiple people that
Right.
speak Spanish. So you get the
Yep.
point. Having that definitely is not a gimmick. It's very much a solid addition. You're going to be able to
Mhm.
run ads for all kinds of clients, and don't let the Hispanic community fool you. They're everywhere, man. They are
Oh
every
yeah,
major
it's
every major
yeah,
metro. Okay,
big
so
time.
that's not something that's only going to apply to one or two cities or the Southwest as a region. No, no, no. That's where it may apply the most,
Hmm.
California and the Southwest. But
No, I know my client in Chicago. There's a
exactly,
ton there
there's going to be
too.
a ton.
Yeah.
There's going to be a ton, and that's good. That's good for you. That's good for them.
Yep.
Expand on that, right? And that's going to
Well, I just remember too, my admin lives in the Dominican, and his wife only speaks Spanish. Um,
right.
so she might be a good resource. And then another person we have on our team has it's a husband-wife team. They both speak Spanish as well. So
Okay, but are they bilingual? Those two?
those two are bilingual, yeah, because I guess I need bilingual. I can't just have Spanish only.
Well,
Because I need to know what's going on in those calls, obviously, right?
you
And I can't tell.
you
So
could have Spanish only if you had a bilingual first,
right.
and then the Spanish only would communicate to the bilingual what's going on with their case. But that's only if you achieve like an overload,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which would be a good problem
Yep.
to have, obviously. But
Yep.
start with one. Start with one. Grow your client base and get to a dozen, and it's going to make a
Mm-hmm.
hell of a lot more sense for you to run what you're running that way. But that's again one more example of how to drive super quality calls from a community that needs it,
Mm-hmm.
if not more than anybody else, really needs it, the help, and you're able to connect the dots, and also your clients see that not only are you able to connect the dots, but that you are that you care enough about who's getting the help. You care enough about their business. You pay attention to the details. Maybe you didn't catch it right away, but nobody hardly ever catches it at all. So you definitely are a differentiation there. There's definitely that for you and everybody else, but more than anything, it shows you care, and it shows you care to the consumer too. I mean, they don't get to see Spanish ads that often. I promise. I
Right.
promise you, um, for things like this. Yeah, and they need it. They definitely need it. There's a huge need for that kind of stuff, and the costs,
For
yes,
sure.
are lower. So there's a lot of rewards there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Word gets around too, by the way. Like your clients are going to get more referral business because of how
Yeah,
that
I was just
culture
gonna
is.
say it'll probably drive a lot of referrals if they start picking up Spanish
You would
speaking.
see, oh yeah, you would see. I bet money if they've got any kind of half-assed decent recovery on referral processes in place, which you can help them with, they're going to see double to triple the amount of business from referrals
Yep.
alone. Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's like, hey, I got a guy, right?
Yep.
It's that whole I've got a guy,
Exactly.
and because there's
I
such a
got a
strong
guy.
sense of
Yep.
right, because there's that whole strong sense of community among that culture, which is great, like I said. But they take care of each other because nobody else
Right.
does, is how they look at it, and that's
Yep.
sad, but it's also very true. And I'm grateful to be able to share that with you so that you can be like, okay, well, now I know that for every client I get my, or for every case I get my client that's in the Hispanic market, they're going to pull some serious business, and that's something you can also communicate to them is not foreshadowing, but laying the groundwork for what's to come, so that they understand where the explosion really came from. Not to take credit or brag or anything, but they definitely need to know you were the agency that made that shit happen for them, because that's what makes them stick.
Right. Yep.
Um, hey, you might notice a lot of referral business. Yeah, it's exploded. And you might notice that it's all coming from the Hispanic market. Yeah, it's crazy. Who would have thought? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I would have, right? But that's because I'm
Yep.
looking out for you. That's why you're my client. That's why I love you. That's why you love me, right? Just as a
Right.
friendly reminder. You don't have to be a D bag about it. You can be nice.
Yeah,
But
totally.
okay. So we talked about
We are
uh,
finishing up the ad.
yeah. So description line one, description line two. This is just going to be more about
I had some like competitor ones
qualifiers.
here.
Yeah, it's going to be so. See where they say if you've been injured in an accident, call now. Pay nothing out of pocket. That's a good qualifier. Life can be hard after an accident. Get aggressive legal help. Excuse me, with personalized services. I would say there's a few lines in here that would be good.
This
Notice the
tends to
call
be a
now.
big one.
Yeah, yeah, that's always going to be big. I like that one, and then combine that at the end. Aggressive help, immediate help.
The other one that the other kind of buzzword is the whole no win, no fee. If we don't win, you don't pay.
Right.
Trying to find my
Wonder if they.
notepad.
I'm trying to think. Like that's to me that's more of an industry thing, not a
Mm-hmm.
not. So how would they? And I know that the
Because
consumers
a lot
talk
of
about
people
it.
think you have to pay a lawyer up front, right? Like a lot
Right.
don't realize that they won't have to.
Right. Right. I'm just trying to think
Ready to
how they would.
fight for you.
No fee unless you win. See, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
See how that's not personalized though, where it says, so that ad in particular shows top Atlanta personal injury lawyers fighting for accident victims. It's too generic. It doesn't speak to me. It says I'm
Mm-hmm.
fighting for everybody, but it doesn't talk to me about my case. That's why, injured in a wreck, right?
Yep.
And then free consult for you or your consult. I'm speaking directly to you about your problem. And then if you add to that things like no fee unless you win, right?
Yep.
I mean, that makes a big
Sorry, I'm
difference.
I'm just I'm
That's
supposed to be
okay.
on a call with the client, so I'm just rescheduling.
No worries.
I want to keep going. He's gonna benefit from it anyway, so
Are your is your call center open 24/7?
yeah.
I would add that in as well.
Okay.
Anytime, and you add these snippets in, obviously in order of importance. So get the money you deserve is good. Uh, I would also probably say get the money you deserve and no fee unless you win. Open 24/7, call us 24/7 for a free consult. Um, or open 24/7, get your free consult, call us now. Nobody ever says call us now. They always say call now. Again, there's no personalization. There's just a lack of personalization. Open 24/7, get your free consult, call us now. And keep in mind your punctuation is going to have to be minimal. But
Right, yeah, that's right. I forgot to
yeah,
get fussy about that.
yeah.
This is also foreign to me because you can't say shit like this in Facebook. You can't use you or
You
your
can't
most of the
you can't
time.
personalize it, right? That's the difference between running call ads, right, and something like running call ads on Facebook. You can't be specific to someone's uh, personal plight, I guess,
Right.
or where they're at. You have to keep it general or
Would
generic.
you do something like this too then?
Uh, that's more of if you've been so like that's almost a no-brainer, no shit Sherlock moment, right? The words
Hmm.
or the phrase if you've been injured in an accident. It's kind of like, well, no shit. Why would I be searching auto accident, right? If I wasn't genius. So they're looking at that probably going, not so much, right?
Yeah.
The reason life can be hard is doing so well. I wouldn't recommend it right now, but the reason that's doing so well is because people 2020 that whole thing.
Hmm.
Um, but look, no fees unless we win is part of the headline on one of those ads. Aggressive legal help is also
Right.
a headline. So it helps to look at some of these and go, okay, this is what people are, um, uh, seeing all the time, and what they're responding to the most over time, obviously.
I like this one.
See the call outs,
Yeah.
the extensions. Yeah, but man, that ad is that's a big ass ad. You know,
Yeah.
it almost takes up the entire screen. And if you notice, it's actually a click to a website, and it's not. And then it's got a call extension, so it's not a
Yep.
call ad. Look at their display / accident / lawyer. Again, that's that whole generic.
Right.
I'm a personal injury lawyer. It doesn't say auto accident. It says accident lawyers. Life could be hard after an accident, but they're talking about all accidents. They're talking about those
Mm-hmm.
slip and falls. They're talking about that kind of shit. Uh,
Yep.
you not once do you see in that entire ad anything for auto accident. And what was your search term?
Auto accident
Auto
lawyer, Morgan and
accident.
Morgan.
So,
Yeah.
like, what is somebody looking for? They're looking for auto accident and they're not getting that specificity in the ad that tells them they're in the exact right place. You ever done a search and you done a search and you have to do another search and another search and another search to get to where you finally actually wanted to be?
Yes. Yep.
But when you did that search that where you actually needed to be and you knew you were there, you had a feeling of I'm exactly where I need to be.
Hmm.
That's all created by not just the ads, but also the results of the search engine itself, dialing in on what your actual intent is, what you're looking for. And
Yep.
since we're running ads, we can actually influence that. Is my point. Someone in that example would have been searching for an auto accident and only sees shit about generic accident, and it leaves this question unanswered of, well, if I click your ad, in other words, right, even if it was a call ad, if I click this and call you, or if I click this and go to your site, do you even do auto? And if you do you specialize in it? Because I don't see anything on this ad copy that states that or
Yeah.
implies that even. And
Hmm.
that makes people just almost instinctively gloss over it, at least initially. So, yeah,
Here's a question
yeah,
and a strategy that I kind of thought of the other day.
go for it.
So you notice how this search triggered Google Screened,
Yeah,
and there's no ads between Google Screened and the 3-pack.
yeah.
How would a guy go about, other than doing it manually, I guess, finding the keywords that don't trigger Google Screened? Because those are going to be fucking money.
I would say you're going to have to do it manually. I don't think there's a way to do that automated
Damn.
in an automated form. Yeah.
Somebody needs to build a tool.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that too much because people that are searching for, see, there's some call ads, and that's at the bottom of
Right.
the of page one. So here's what I would say to that is again, Google screened like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I needed an auto accident lawyer, and I know that I'm maybe not like everybody else, but I happen to think that most people would be with me on this. I could give two shits whether Google screened them or not, because at the end of the day, I'm talking about a high level of trust that's required here,
Mm-hmm.
and their review level, I take with a grain of salt
Yeah.
because lawyers are lawyers. Just because they're smiling in their picture doesn't mean they're friendly, right? Or that they're going to fit my needs, or that they speak Spanish, or that they do this or that. And most people, especially with things going on right now, with the large distrust and growing distrust of big tech, for
Yeah.
obvious reasons. Um, I don't know if things being Google screened actually play to the advantage anymore. And really, they've been pushing that agenda for so long now that a lot of people are pushing back against. I don't care what you recommend. I want to see all my options. And so people will tend to on pages like that for keywords, they'll tend to scroll. They'll tend to scroll. And your key
Okay.
term, by the way, your search term was what?
Auto accident lawyer.
In the city. So auto
Yep.
accident lawyer in the city.
Yep.
Um, there's intent, but it's not the highest intent,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I could be looking up auto accident lawyers in XYZ city to hire me,
Mm-hmm.
to sell services to, whatever. So
True.
it's not specific enough. It's not the highest intent anyway. It's something you can run ads on, obviously here, like some of the other guys are, but it's also not something that look / recommended / city. Does the other one have
Right.
anything in there? The one above that?
Car
Car
accident lawyer,
accident and
so a
lawyer. So
little better.
that's much better, right?
Yeah.
They're saying what they do and who they do it for, and then what's the injury solution? Injured in a car accident, something. Don't settle with insurance companies without speaking to. See, that's too generic,
Hmm.
right? Don't speak with insurance companies without speaking to a personal injury attorney.
I kind of like this one.
Help with
Help
car
with car
repair.
repair and medical treatment, because that's what most people are worried about, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Especially if the car was totaled or they have medical bills that are just obscene, right? In a lot of cases,
Yeah.
an accident serious enough to go to court like that's gonna be something that's life altering injuries, right? Something you have to deal with the
Hmm.
rest of your life. Knee brace,
Yep.
back brace, surgeries, things like
Totally.
that.
And
Yeah.
then this is always like a buzzword, set of buzzwords. Find out what your case is really worth.
Yeah. What's that Antique Roadshow? You ever watch that or hear of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but
Do you know the concept of the show?
not really, no.
People bring in their antiques and stuff or what they think are antiques and they bring it all in to have it appraised and they do this
Hmm.
TV show where they people show stuff they found in their grandfather's attic or whatever, and what's this worth? And so like the whole find out what your case is really worth tends to be, mind you, a lot of people that actually don't have a case,
It's true.
right? Um,
Hmm.
People that are in an accident and are clearly in an accident and a bad one are what we're really looking for because usually and typically the worse the accident, the bigger the payout, right?
Totally.
The
Yep.
more I'm laughing at that not to laugh at somebody's pain or injury, but um, I'm laughing at that just because when someone targets what the case is really worth versus uh, someone intent wise that knows what their case is going to be worth or has a very good understanding that this case is at least seven figures kind of a payout, then those are the calls we want for sure, right?
Yeah.
Not that these are bad things to expand into, but it's also definitely not a starting point.
Hmm.
And until you get to a place where a client is wanting to spend with you um, tens of thousands of dollars, this is not something you want to expand into, because
Okay.
again, there's a small percentage of people that don't know if they have a case or not and what it would be worth. Yes, uh, but most people that go on Antiques Roadshow get told that their stuff is junk,
Right.
right? But every once in a while they pull the highlights out, of course, and show you the cool stuff that's found for sure. Those are the ones we're after, right?
Yeah.
The ones that brought their stuff in and know it's worth something, they just don't know how much, right? Like
Right.
versus someone who says, "Is this worth anything?" Because
Yeah.
the mindset of find out what your case is really worth is someone that doesn't even know if they have a fucking case. And in most
Yeah.
cases, those people don't have a case,
Right.
sadly.
Right.
Um, but that's what I would. Or the time too much time has elapsed. They just never took the
Right.
time to find out how much their case is worth. But now that 2020 is a shit year or whatever, or they lost their job, now they've got the time to sit there and think about it, and too much time has passed. They don't realize that they don't have a case anymore, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. So what would we do for the ad? I kind of I put this down. I don't know what you think. Like call it out first, auto accident victims, and then do like this.
That's more of a Facebook thing
Okay.
without saying you can't call them out specifically, but you can on this ad. So, I would start with that. Get the money, no fee, uh, and then I would add in help with the car and treatment thing.
Right. This
Hmm.
was that gonna fit on here? Probably not.
Should. Oh,
Uh,
close. Okay, so um, unless you win, help with car repair and medical treatments. I would just
medical
do medical
bills.
medical bills.
That's really what they care about more
Right.
anyway, right?
Yeah, and then the second line is going to be "Se habla español," and then put the call to action in after it. The open 24/7. So "Se habla español," and then open 24/7. Oh, it's
Well, how do
SE.
you SE.
Yeah, SEHABLA.
There it is.
Yep, perfect. And
Oops.
yes, I know I have a country ass accent when I say habla español, and they laugh their ass off at me, but they do more or less understand me.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because every time I go to Mexico, they're like, when I say gracias, they're like, gracias.
Right, they make fun, yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay though. Okay, and then of course select your conversion action. Make sure that's selected to, let's see, account settings. That's the right one, right? Okay.
Yep.
Uh,
Don't do anything extra here.
shouldn't have to. No,
Okay.
I'd hit done because you're ready to split test from that. So I would go in and create a true split test, copy this ad a few times, like 4 times, and change out description, headline one, change out headline two on the second ad or third ad
Okay.
rather. The fourth ad, change out description line one. The fifth ad, change out description line two. Right, so that way you have 5 copies of an ad. That's a true split
Okay.
test. But again, this is something that we went through and we set all that up, right? And I explained a lot more than it would take you just to go and do this, right?
Yep.
But also now you can copy that ad group, including its ad copy and keywords, to every campaign you currently have,
Right.
whether that's
For
50 or
sure.
100. So there's leverage there, is kind of my point.
Yep.
A little bit of time, but a lot of leverage out of that for sure. Yeah.
And then what would you do with the extensions?
It's going to be under ads and extensions and then extensions. Yeah. Call outs for sure. Um, Call extensions are probably not going to run for call ads, but I always like to do it anyway in case you ever start running like an ad that's going to be able to support that. The call outs you have, 7 of them, no issues there. You could do snippets. Like there's three or four main ones. There's actually 5, but 3 or 4 main ones that I like to use if possible. So the structured snippet would be one. The call out extension would be one. Site link is more for people that actually want to drive, like kind of like opposite of what you've been seeing, which is people that run clicks to site have a call extension where they can call. This would be the
Mm-hmm.
opposite, where it's a call ad on a mobile, but if you want to visit the site, it would have a website. I don't like that as much because, again,
Mm-hmm.
they're on the mobile. You might as well get the ones that have high intent.
Yeah.
So call extension, yes, and then the location extension is going to be the other one, right?
Now that one you have to have access to their
Correct.
GMB though,
You
right?
have to you have
Yeah.
to you have to sync it, direct link it to the GMB. That's correct. So
Okay.
that's
And
why I
how do
say
you
if
usually do
possible.
that? Do you just set up like a generic Gmail and
Okay,
attach it
so
to that?
no, I would actually use their GMB. And I say that like there's some people out there right now, actually quite a few that are teaching running Google My Business listings or GMB listings and setting them up and it's not for a legit business.
Mm-hmm.
It's to drive legit business to
Mm-hmm.
or calls to a legit business, but it's a fake business name in almost every
Yeah,
case of what
yeah.
people are teaching. And while it's not illegal or bad or anything, it's definitely frowned upon. And
Mm-hmm.
Google is working on that's more of a hack,
Yep.
and it's
I'm
modified.
testing that actually in
You're
this
right.
in this market.
Well, it's not. Listen, you're going to drive phone calls from it. Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Overnight, it could go away.
Yeah,
And in
exactly.
and in many cases, that's what most people that deal in the GMB world experience
Mm-hmm.
from time to time. Anytime there's any major updates, anytime they discover that there's tons of listings from tons of different Gmails and they're all tied to this one IP address, you're fucking cooked. You're done, right?
Yep.
And to put at risk all the ad accounts and campaigns and actual good client work uh, just because it's linked to that same kind of activity is probably not something I would
Yeah,
ever
no, I'm
advise.
definitely not
So,
leaving a footprint. It's completely separate from
well,
everything
that's good.
else.
That's good.
Yeah.
And even so, just be aware the results will over time. It's like fighting water. You can fight the water, but at some point,
Totally.
at some point the water's going to win because the water always wins.
Yep.
So I teach to go with the water, go with the flow.
Yep.
Um, Not that that's the only way to do it, but mind you, but you are going to have some expectations. I'm talking to everybody too, not just you, Sean. You're going to have
Right.
some expectations if you're doing things like GMB for shit to break frequently, or to
Totally.
change on you frequently, and for it to also potentially be gone eventually. So if you build your entire business around that, maybe to start okay, but if you build your entire business around that, you're really shooting yourself in the
Yeah.
foot. Yeah,
That's not a smart strategy for sure.
right. So those are the call outs I would use. And
Okay.
again, optional on the location, but
So
if
what
they
are
actually,
these guys?
so structured snippets are like, this is usually used for ecom, for example, where you can do like, how do I say this? You can do, select a header type. Let me show you right there next to it. Yeah, there you go. So like you can do different kinds of, like if you had a car model you were selling or a model of shirts or,
Right.
okay, so you see the drop down there. You can
Yeah,
do all
yeah.
those different things, but for what these guys offer, you're going to want to play around with it. But the idea would be, um, instead of destinations, it would be like neighborhoods. Might not be a bad one.
Hmm.
So this is like Shelby County or Clark County, or now
Right,
serving
right.
metro area, uh, which for that particular city would be, is it Fulton? I think it's Fulton.
Fulton County.
I could be wrong, but no, FU.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
see,
there it
there it
is.
is.
Oops.
I'm looking right at it. Yep. Damn. Yeah, I called it.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
only that's one. See all the surrounding suburb areas though. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
counties there, brother. So I would
Right.
yeah, I would yeah, all, and I would do all Fulton. You know what I'm saying? Like all Fulton County.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
Because you got the room for it, right?
Yep.
All of Fulton County. Then you got so this is snippets, and again, snippets. Anytime we have ad extensions, by the way, for everybody else listening, ad extensions help increase the ad real estate that's shown on the phone because the phone is only so big, right? So every millimeter of ad space we can add to the uh, the actual ad copy itself, the more ad real estate we own, the higher your click through rates are. And that's not just supported. That's not taught by me. That's also supported very much so, in fact, by Google's own findings, which is
Yeah,
one of the
it's all about
reasons
real estate.
it's all about the ad real estate, 100%.
Yep.
So,
And then you select mobile.
always, yeah, I always select
Yeah.
mobile on the advanced options for
I'll come back and add
any
this some
extension.
more later.
Yeah, ad schedule you don't have to worry about because you set that on the campaign
It'll
level. No
pick
big
it
deal.
up. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, you need at least 3.
Yeah, you're gonna have to add in a couple, so it's so that it takes. But there's
You
and
do
then I
like
would do,
this?
yeah, and then I would also do like metro. You know what I'm saying? Like downtown metro, something like that.
That.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll play around with that.
yeah.
That's cool.
And then
And
so
then,
now you
sorry, for the location one, I would need to add
their
whatever
GMB.
Gmail I have this. I need to connect that to their GMB.
Well,
Like whatever.
you should be able to connect it. Go ahead and click on the blue plus. You should be able to connect it. I don't really do the location, uh, but it can be done. So like what you would have to do is actually find it and then link to
Okay.
it. So
Gotcha.
it's either linked to one in your Google My Business account or linked to one that you know of, right? See where it says link to a Google Business account, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would select that, see if you can find it. Request access, and then just tell your client ahead of time before you do that that's
Right.
coming
So
down the pipe.
I'd need their GMB email address then. Looks
Uh,
like.
Request access to another. Put mouse over the question mark. I think that means add your email address. Nope, it's for the account. You're correct.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
it's accepted, they'll be added. What did that say? It'll be added what? as location. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's an easy, I mean, and that's not, it's not something you have to do. It's not something you have to do for all your clients. You can pick up more than enough ad real estate or increase ad real estate from the other extensions. So the call outs, the
Right.
structured snippets, shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, Again, structured snippets more used for things like e-com or selling products. Uh, they can be used for also selling services, but there's a lot of different structured snippets in there that you can use or mold to work for you, especially one like neighborhoods, obviously, for a lot of local service that's going to work very well. And then of
Gotcha.
course the call extension. So yeah, there's there's your max ad real estate, and you're going to
Okay.
actually be able to see uh, how well they perform based on when someone actually clicked on one of those words. Like Google can tell you not just who clicked on your ad, but where they clicked on your ad. So if they clicked on the main
Right.
part, or if they clicked on a call extension or a call out extension, right? You're going to be able to see all that. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, see, accident lawyers in my area, there's Google, there's the Google Screened or Google Guaranteed, more or less, is the local service
Mm-hmm.
ads. At the same time, open 24/7, sponsored, over 10 providers nearby. I know they're
Yeah.
selling that, but man, I just,
Well, that's what kind of what my point was, though, is maybe it's more wise right now to try to find keywords that don't trigger these because you're more likely to get the call. Because I mean, as soon as somebody starts having to scroll all the way to the bottom, I mean, there's still a likelihood you could get a call, but the odds decrease pretty significantly, right?
um, when it comes to, I wouldn't say that.
Because
No,
Google gave me some stats. I was actually talking to a manager in the Google screened,
right.
and he said something about if they have all three, like the screened, the ad, and the
And
three
a three
pack,
pack, they're
it
gonna,
goes
well,
up like
yeah.
80, like almost 70 some percent. They'll get the click.
The reason why is because they have, it's like the real estate thing we just described,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's gonna help. At the same time, Google's gonna charge you money on two of those,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And I guarantee you there's going to be an effect on how well you rank inside the three pack versus what you're actually paying for an ad or for Google Screen. So for us, we're looking to get phone calls from people that are of the highest intent and expand out from there based on long tails, which I guarantee you, everybody that's anybody in this vertical in this city, even for this vertical, is not digging hard enough. Guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where I found somebody that could dig better than what I teach. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, for as a point of fact, like there's so many long tails that you can pull good traffic for that I don't even think any of us could ever get them all, but we can get a lot of them, right?
Yep.
Um, and a lot of those long tails are going to be, because they're long tails, are going to be cheaper, less traffic, yes, but also super valuable keywords. And it's one of those things where unless Google starts running that on all of those keywords for Google Screened or local service ads, it's not going to matter. And they don't run them on all the keyword searches. And I don't anticipate that they will do that. I don't think they're moving towards that. I think they're struggling to expand that program for all the different verticals there are. And
Yeah. Oh, they're struggling to get people live. I've had a
that's
client
what I
that's
mean,
been waiting for 2.5 months to get
right?
the review process done.
And not
So
only that, but outside of screening and reviews and all that kind of stuff to get approved for the program, once they're approved, there's been a lot of reports, at least on my end, from clients that they're uh, they're not seeing anything from it or very little from
hmm
it. So it's kind of like
yeah,
a waste of their time and a waste of money. Not in
right.
every case, but in a lot of cases. And so
hmm
Google's having to combat that by targeting the higher traffic keywords, which again, lower intent, not quite the
hmm
best idea, but they're also trying to drive more intent from broad keywords, which is not really how it's done. I know it sounds
Yeah.
crazy that Google hasn't quite caught on to that yet, but they will. They will, 100%. When they make changes too, they make big changes. So they don't like having to cancel programs though, if you haven't noticed. So
Hmm.
what they'll do
Yeah.
is anytime something's not working as well as they'd like, they tend to rename it, rebrand it
Right.
a few
Yeah.
times, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you remember what this used to be called?
Google screened?
Yeah,
No, I don't.
local service ads, right?
Oh, right, local service.
And
Yeah.
before local service ads, do you know what it used to be called?
Maps or something?
Not maps. If
No.
I'm not mistaken, it was places. I'd have to actually look it up.
Oh,
Hold
yeah,
on.
Google Places. Yeah.
Wasn't it places ads, right? Hold on, let me
I
see.
think so. Yeah.
It seems to ring
Well,
a
I think
bell.
they still do
They
Google
almost
Places
immediately,
ads,
well, they
though.
almost immediately changed it from whatever it was originally when it was launched to local service ads, and it stayed on
Yeah.
LSA for a while, and then it went to now it's Google screened, right?
Well, no, they still have LSA because local services ads are for plumbers, HVAC, blah blah blah.
Well, they
Google
used to. What I'm
Screened is
saying
for
is,
professionals.
right, and see, they added that as in addition to the local service ads. My point is LSAs are they weren't always called LSAs, and so the
Right.
renaming and extension of the branding with Google Screened, what they're trying to do, if you can't tell, everybody can pretty much tell. If Google says they screen somebody, what does that mean to you? Or what is that supposed to mean to you, rather?
Well, it's supposed to mean that they're a real business
Right. Well, not just a real business, but
and reputable.
reputable, right? Someone that's
Yeah.
not going to rake you over the coals, maybe, even though that's technically what it implies. That's not what it actually is, and
Hmm.
there's not a person alive that looks at that and trusts it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're just not because it's like I don't want to. I'm hungry and I want some food, but I don't want to get my food from inside of a porta potty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It could be the a 5 course meal that's from one of the best restaurants in town, and if you serve it to me from the inside of a porta potty, I'm probably not going to be happy, right? So same
Yep.
concept applies here. So the Google Screened is just an extension of LSAs, but I'm looking to see. Let's see. LSAs used to be known as. Let's see. LSAs formerly known as. I have to always do a few searches here. Uh, Yeah, see, here's somebody talking about local service ads for lawyers, and it's an actual ad. Somebody selling that as a
Right.
service. And that's
Yep.
because before Google screened, it was LSAs for everybody, right? So
Yep.
they're rebranding, renaming, and extending the brand, and it makes it look like it's doing well, but I promise it's not.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that just from trying to get a couple clients up and running on it.
Exactly.
It's a
Well,
it's
like I
a
said, the
fucking gong
experiences that
show.
everybody's having on the client side, on the agency side, and then you look at the rebranding and how they've done that with things like Google Plus over the years, and
Right.
then they finally said, "Okay, we're done. We give that battle up." But it took them how many years to give it up?
Oh
Ten,
God, it
like
was like
10?
6 or 7 at least.
I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, I think it may
It
have
might
been
have been
10.
more. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at this going, and this is on an ads based platform. Not they're not going to catch as much heat for it. So I wonder how long it's actually going to last, and
Yeah.
uh, because there wasn't a massive buy-in, or at least to the numbers that they needed for a tipping point, there's going to
Hmm.
be, I think there's not going to be as much adoption as they'd like, and so they're going to have to scrap it at some point. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
when, right? I don't work for them, so I couldn't tell you that, but it's a matter of when. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, I can't see what it was called before, but I know there was a name for it before it was LSA, because I remember, and it was very quick. They changed it almost within a few months. They changed it, and then local service ads, LSAs, is what took off as the name, and
Right.
then they started doing the expansion stuff. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
funny, so funny. But hey, we see the trends. We know how they operate. I mean, there's a footprint, there's a fingerprint there. We know how it works. Whenever something's not working well, they're going to rebrand it within usually a short time frame. And I say short, over a few years, they're going to rebrand something that really, really shouldn't be rebranded. For example, if it was working well, for example, audiences, um, search terms, how a lot of those things operate, they've operated the same way almost for years,
Hmm.
years and years and years. And some things may change slightly about how they operate today, which they have, but in terms of what they call it, what it's been called, even in the new ad platform makeover, it's still the exact same thing, more or less. Whereas you look at things like LSAs and they change names seemingly every week, even though it's not every week. It just feels that
Yeah.
way, and nobody's buying into it. I say nobody, most people rather are not buying into it and are not going to, because they don't want their food where they're taking a shit,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
don't want Google telling them what's good, what's not good. They want to be able to make the decision. And I think that they're really cutting themselves pretty deep, because people go to Google because they trust them to be impartial. And again, that's that whole big tech thing coming into play on the political in the political arena. But
Yep.
it does make a difference, because I expect to be able to go to Google, and like everybody else that uses Google, to find information that's impartial, that supports whatever I'm searching, not in favor of what they think is okay or right. And that includes screening professionals. That's my job, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm on Google for, is to find that professional that's going to be a fit for me, not what Google recommends for me.
Yep.
Because again, Google screened them great, but did they say habla, right?
Yeah.
No. Well, then why would that even matter to me then? Now it's instantly less valuable. And so I think again they're shooting themselves in the foot, cutting themselves up pretty good. I think it's a matter of time, and I think they could make adjustments to it to actually make it work. Um, but it would take a lot of time, years and years worth of time for adoption. And I think they're thinking that it's going to catch on, and it's just not. Right? There may be a couple verticals where it does, but as a whole, on a for a program, I really don't see it being a staple, staying a staple um, as the years go on. I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I kind of agree with you. Seems like it's the next fad that they're trying that won't last.
Yep. Um, was there anything else you needed me to look at, cover with you?
No, I think that's probably good for today. I mean, the only other quick question, you mentioned a global negative keyword list.
Yeah,
How do I do that?
by the account on the account
Yeah.
level. So you can create them by the campaign, but you can actually under shared libraries, I believe, create the like a global set of negatives. So if you go to uh, tools and settings, take a look and see. There should be a shared library. Hold on, there it is, shared library, negative keyword list. See that under shared library? It's the
Mm,
second item over.
oh, here.
And
Yep.
then shared library. There you go. Negative keyword list. There you go. So you can actually create a negative keyword list, and then I believe there's a setting to apply to all campaigns, or to the account rather.
So I just did that.
Hit save on it. All right. Edit, remove, negative. No, that's not it. Try. Okay.
Apply to campaigns.
There you go. And then you
Okay,
can
so you
select
still have
all.
to apply it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but you can
that's fine.
select all, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
once you
yeah.
get the global up, okay, that's exactly how you do it. Yeah, with the
Okay.
global. And it's not
All right.
called a global, but you can make it a global by
Yeah.
doing that, applying it to all the campaigns. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't. What do you use for a screen capture tool?
I use Snagit.
Snag it. Okay, I was
You talking
using
about
Jing.
images? You're talking about
Yeah,
images, right?
I was using Jing and I loved it, but
I
they
did
got
too.
rid of it. And
Well,
I
I loved it. They when Mac did their big update, it no longer functioned, so I had to move to Snagit. And not that I mind Snagit, it's got its pluses, right? Its
yeah,
pros and cons, but it's reliable, it's consistent,
okay.
and so
I haven't been
I
able
went
to
to
find
Snagit.
one that I like since Jing went away.
Snagit's pretty cool because it's got like a magic lasso. It's automated, semi-automated, so you don't have to be like a super graphics pro to. You can make
Yeah.
graphics with the damn thing. It's really
Yeah, I
cool.
used to use Snagit way back in the day.
Yeah, it's a really nice.
And does it like store unlimited links and stuff like Jing used to, where you could
Uh,
send the link to people?
I don't know. I don't use links on Snagit, but I
Oh,
do. I can save the images and save as whatever I want.
gotcha.
I can render it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can add
Right.
things to it as well. Like Jing had that thing where you could do boxes and arrows and
Yeah.
text and well, Snagit does that only better.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really
I'll have
cool
to look
for
at that
sure.
one then
I
again.
think I
Okay.
think Snagit's like what, $20, $50.
I know when I got it a long time ago, it
Uh,
wasn't that
It's
expensive for
not.
sure.
It's really not compared to what, all the time and trouble it saves you. Now, for
Yeah.
websites, I use a Chrome extension that is called, let me look at it here. It's called Go Full Page. So Go Full, Full page. And it's a full page screen capture extension. There it is. Bam. Now, here's
Okay.
what's really cool about this. So like if you add this, you could go to any website and it will
Mm-hmm.
scroll the entire, let's say there's a sales page that's like 2 miles long and
Yeah, yeah.
you want to keep it because it's got good copy on it and you want to
Yep.
model after it or something or create a swipe file, whatever. You can click on with one click, it'll turn your entire page that you're on into a PDF and you
Oh,
can
okay.
download it immediately. And that,
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty slick, right? So it's
It
kind of
is.
like it's like your own Wayback Machine, only or creating your own swipe file
Yep.
without having to. You can do it on the fly because it's an extension. Like
Nice.
I said, as long as you just remember to do that, then you can grab. Or if like you're afraid somebody's going to take something down, I
Mm-hmm.
document a lot of shit like that where it's like, okay, I think they're going to take that down. Let me grab that real quick so that I can
Yeah.
prove, okay, it was there at this date and time. Because when a
Right.
file is created like a PDF, it also time date stamps it when it was
Mm-hmm.
created. So it's like you can't really. I guess I could modify that, but at the same time, I'm not that savvy. So in the court of law, I can show, hey, this was here, right? And it's
Yeah.
on the Wayback Machine. This was here.
Yeah.
Um, Helps a lot to prove
Yeah.
your
The
case if you
Wayback
need to prove your
Machine saved
case.
my ass a few
Yep.
times.
The thing is, though, what if we don't have it, or
Yeah.
what if it's not showing the same thing or close to what the you see what I'm saying? Like maybe it
Yep.
didn't pull a new version of that yet, but
Yep.
your little extension here will 100%. It's
Right.
very valuable tool. Between that and Jing, or not Jing, excuse me, you got me thinking Jing now.
Snag it. Yeah.
I used to use Jing all the time.
I
Um,
know. I was devastated when they
yeah,
got rid of it.
I loved how it was, sat up there in the corner, and
Yeah. It was
just
so
waited.
easy.
Yeah,
Yep.
even on a Mac, I was like, man. And then
Yeah.
they did that big
They
update on Mac.
decommissioned it. Like it's gone. You can't use it anymore on anything.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
It's gone. Yeah. Because I used it on all my computers. Like I have
Man.
Mac and PC. So I was not
Well, I know the
happy.
last Mac update, it just totally they changed over to some kind of framework, not Big Sur, because that's the most recent one, but they changed over to some kind of framework, and it just all the 32-bit apps
Hmm.
done, fucking
Yeah.
done, and
Yep.
they didn't update to any kind of a version that you could use, and they knew this was coming because Apple telegraphed it, but they didn't adjust for it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not using Jing ever again because if they're gonna be lazy like that, then I'm not going to use them ever again. So I pulled Snagit because I know that works and works well. And a little bit of a learning curve with Snagit if you're not familiar with image editing, but Jing users tend to find Snagit pretty straightforward with additional features. And there's a lot of
Cool.
YouTube tutorials on it for sure
Yeah,
to
it
use
wasn't
that.
hard to use last time I used it. It was pretty easy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Jing was as good as it gets though.
Yeah, it was. It was so simple. Um, I, is there anything else? Because I wanted to
No,
show
I
the
think I've
chart. That's
stole
okay.
enough of your time
That's
for
okay. I just
today.
wanted to make sure that you got what you needed.
Yeah,
We
I got
covered a
enough
lot. There's
to
there's quite a few things that you need to
get
go back
shit
in and
done.
add
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, but I think that's going to do not just the trick. I think it's going to do very well for you um, because your campaigns are going to be targeting keywords that are not just competitor based. In fact, quite the opposite now. But
Hmm.
you have to add to them enough to be able to give Google AdWords the space they need to try those new keyword ideas and to try the keywords that you know are going to convert. The auto only ad group was definitely something that's going to make a big difference. You're going to see an
Yeah.
increase just on that alone, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go get rid of all of the low
Low
volume
search. Yeah,
ones,
low search. Good.
and then I'm probably gonna, well, I'll go through and make sure I don't have any of these auto accident ones in the auto, and I'll kill those too.
Well, those they just go into the other ad group,
Or
right?
sorry, I mean in the general, yeah.
Yeah, they go in the general.
Yep.
Uh, yep. Cool, cool.
Okay. All right.
All
Appreciate
right,
you,
my
man.
man. Always, man. You're
Might even
welcome.
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be here.
I'm gonna be in here all day today. That was my goal, is to get in here
Okay.
and get some shit done.
Well, now
So
you know how to systemize it and also pass it off. That's going to make a big difference.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna wrap my head around right now, is like, can I create 4 or 5 SOPs that I can just hand off to my girl, because I know she'll do a good job. It's just I have to tell her how to do it, right? So
We'll create a rough draft of them. Come back on tomorrow and let's review
yep,
them. And I'll be able to
yep.
be like, oh, this, and that, add this and that, and then let you fine tune it from there. But as long as the main building blocks are there, I can help you with that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that for
Okay.
sure. All
Cool. I
right.
think
Thanks,
that'll give
man.
us. You're welcome. That'll give us a good starting point for when you pass it off for sure.
All right.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, my
Thanks.
man. You're welcome.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Hey, if I don't talk to you before, have a great Christmas.
Yeah, you too, bud, and a good New
I
Year.
probably try to get on before, but you never know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you too.
All right.
All right, man.
All
Talk to you
right.
later.
Yep. Later.
Bye.
Um, for everybody else on the call that's still here, don't worry about attendance. If you're one of the 8 or so that are still in the running for that, I'll mark you present. Um, here is the chart that I was telling you about that I couldn't figure, and you're gonna laugh at what caused the problem. When it loads the chart from slides, like I showed you, right? When it loads the chart, actually, I should be able to update that. Bam, just like that. When it loads from this over into a sheet, it starts wherever the chart is. And if all you do is scroll up, guess what? You'll see where the data actually gets input. So that's what I was missing yesterday. Something stupid like that. Oh well. I told you I'd figure it out, and I figured it out pretty quickly. And I usually am able to do that live. I just happened to do it live on another call in the mentorship actually. But this is like if you look at it, this is kind of easy to understand. If you visually though, it's not as easy as maybe this, where you can see what I'm talking about. Where and again, this is what to focus on when, right, and why. So client acquisition is the light blue, agency building is the dark blue. So if you notice in the summer months, you'll notice everything is like not that agency building is non-existent, but it should be like an 80-20 kind of a deal for most of the year, if you notice. Most of the year is like this, and if anything, towards the end of the year right now, it's even more so client acquisition focused, right? And less on the agency building. Not that agency building's unimportant, but it should be less of that, more focus on this because it's a sweet spot, right? Now, over the summer months, you're like, oh man, that's a hell of an oscillation, right? Not really. It just doesn't translate very well because it's month to month. If we were to spread these out physically, you'd actually see um, this smooth out quite a bit. But the idea is this: it's based on percentage of focus, if you will. So in May in May, it's still very much 80-20, 80 for clients, 20% focus for agency building, and it's consistent, right? That's consistent work. So there's nothing wrong with that. If you look at June, that's when it goes 50-50 because there's people that are starting to take vacation. It's still a good month to acquire clients, but this is where you should start shifting gears into, okay, we're going to expand the last half of this year into 3 different verticals. We need to get the training in place, market research in place, and all that kind of stuff. So it ramps up. You're in full blown 90-10 mode here. Opposite in July is ideal, right? Where most of your time and focus is going to be spent on agency building in the month of July. Not that you're not acquiring clients. This is not at zero. It's just at a lower point, right? Because of what July is like. Again,
Could I go on a client blitz in the middle of July and pull clients? Yes, I can. 100%. You can too. Is it the most ideal? No. You're going to run into a lot of uh, barriers and blocks and no's and not availables than you would if you ran a blitz in December. That's the whole point. This is all relative. It's not like I'm saying you'll never get clients in July. I'm just saying this is a perfect time for you to shift your focus into the agency building, regroup and revamp and expand. Um, and then of course it goes back down to 50-50 August because people are starting to come home, people are starting school again, in you know, a non-COVID world or a post-COVID world. Right now we're still kind of in the middle of COVID world, so not quite the same, but people still tend to start school around the same time of year regardless, right? At least for now. And then you're in September, you're in full swing of where agency building goes back down to that 20% management and growth, and back to the sweet spot there into a climax at the end of the year, right? Which does carry through to January. It doesn't really reflect that because it's more of focus on what to focus on as opposed to what you'll actually see results wise. That's why I say these are actually much smoother oscillations than they appear to be. But this is a good guide, right? And it's the same information, same data on this graph, if you want to look at it this way visually, where 80-20, 80-20, 80-20, sweet spots throughout the year, right? And then right here in the middle, you've got this nice opportunity to work on the agency and expansion, right? To gear up for that nice increase and push towards the end of the year, through the end of the year, into the first of the year, all the way to next summer. So more times than not, you're in a month where the odds are right now, even if you're listening to this as a recording, right, which those of you live right now are live, the odds are this: you're most likely in a month where it's going to be excellent client acquisition. And even if you're in a month where it's not excellent client acquisition, if you're starting out in bootstrapping and you don't have much of an agency to build, it's still a really solid month for you to get clients. It's just not going to be as easy, right, as fish in a barrel, also known as December, right? It's just going to take a little bit more work. That's all. Okay. All right. Um, so we've explained all that, got all that set up. Questions and comments. That's what I wanted to do. Let me come back to the comments. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry at the same time. I know you guys have been tuning in, so hopefully you learned a lot from that. I know you didn't get to see the screen and all that, but you got to hear me talk about certain aspects of a campaign and all that. Should make a lot of sense if you're applying that, right? Rob says, William, would you add location-based keywords to a campaign at the start? And I used to teach against this. Here's what I'll tell you: if there are location-based keywords that are in the suggested keyword function, which is basically Google giving you the answers as you create a campaign, right? You don't have to do that every time just starting out. Then yes, there will be some keywords that make sense based on intent for location-based. Is it a good idea to start with those? The higher intent, the better, right? So near me is better actually than a city name, believe it or not. And the reason I say that is because they both target the same, but one person is actually thinking near me and not necessarily a metro area, for example, even though the metro area may be near them, right? I know that doesn't make sense, but it will as time goes on, I promise, if it doesn't initially. The other thing is location-based keywords do better on at least a campaign that's been optimized or started the optimization process, had a couple of levels of optimization done. Location-based keywords can be added in and done very well with. Maybe not necessarily out of the gate, but if you stay on top of optimization, it's not going to make much of a difference beginning that way anyway. But yeah, you could go either way with that. As long as you stay on top of the optimization, it's not going to matter, right? But I usually don't start with location-based keywords, again, unless there's a significant amount of them or very, very high intent and a significant amount of them inside of what Google's giving me the answers about where the traffic's going to come from, okay, for the core set of keywords based on what I teach on campaign creation. Adrian says, what are agency building tasks based on the line graph? So this is where like you go into one vertical and let's say you get 50 clients, right? You bust it hard between now and June, you get 50 clients, 100 clients in a vertical. And so now you're thinking about scaling into a new vertical, right? Well, if you don't have any kind of training built on how to scale into a new vertical, which would be you starting over, we're talking new agency website, how to duplicate that entire process, change out all the words, change out the image, change out the phone number, how to do the market research. If you haven't documented that process to hand off to an employee at some point or staff member at some point, you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to do those things anyway, but then you want to document you doing them this time, right? Maybe you didn't do that the first time through the first vertical, and that's fine because you don't have to. But man, now you if you're wanting to not just expand into vertical number 2, but 3 and 4 towards the end of the year, right? The last 90 days of the year, the last quarter, then you're definitely going to want to have some processes in place that govern those kinds of things. Um, any kind of hey, I just hired a campaign manager. Um, they need any kind of standard operating procedures, SOPs, whatever you want to call them, any kind of checklists that they would need to optimize campaigns, set up campaigns on a daily, weekly basis, um, any kind of training and systems and processes building that hasn't been done yet for any of your staff, any kind of KPI management and measurements of people's work up to that point, staff members' work up to that point that has not been properly managed, any problems with those numbers, and how to solve them if that training hasn't been created for your agency manager to use that you haven't hired yet. Like all those things are systems and processes. A lot of them are, and they're all agency building activities and tasks, and then some. There's a ton more than that. Okay. And that's a great question too, by the way, Adrian. Like where your head's at with that. John says, amazing how these calls open up so broadly, covering areas which are so important yet not always considered during starting out. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I want people to understand, when you start this, there's a reason why we say it's a great business opportunity, a great business model to grow with, to learn with. It's not, there's so much to it that you're not ever going to learn it all in one sitting. However, you can learn enough in one sitting, maybe two, to start producing money with it and grow with it. So that's you don't find that very often, right? You don't find that very often, not to this effect, and we have that, and that's why one of the many reasons why I love teaching you guys this stuff. It's actually very simple for us to make that happen. Okay. Sean says, take every penny you can from the government because us and our kids are going to be paying for this for years. Might as well take our chunk now, too. That's funny. Awesome, William. This feels like a mentorship call. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Same to you guys. If I don't see you between now and then, I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. But if I don't see you between now and then, yes, please. Happy holidays. Have a good Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas. And have a Happy New Year. I almost got it mixed up like Trading Places. It's one of my favorite movies, actually. One of my favorite Christmas movies. I have several. That's definitely one of them where Eddie Murphy says Merry New Year as the exchange student from Cameroon, right, on the train. I don't know if any of you all know that movie or not. It's an older movie, but quite hilarious. It's one of my favorites. So, yeah, Merry New Year. And for those of you that like beef jerky, right? So random, I know. That said, let's make that our stopping point. I think we're good to go. A lot of good questions come in, a lot of good stuff covered, a lot of topics as per usual. But don't want to keep you guys from getting the work done. Keep your focus strong. Finish strong. I say finish strong. Finish this week strong. It's an early week. We're done Thursday at noon, Thursday at 1, really, pretty much for pulling in clients and client acquisition. This is you're in the prime time right now. Prime time. Go after it. Now, knock it out of the park. And if you need help with that, come on tomorrow. Ask questions. Get help. Get answers. Get course corrections based on your pitch, based on the processes you're using, all that kind of stuff, right? Um, let's get it done. Let's go get it done and meet back in the middle and talk about what comes next, right? And next thing you know, you'll be like Sean there, having conversations about the clients. Like Sean runs a really good business. I know Sean doesn't like to talk about it a lot, and I'm not going to share all his details, but I'll tell you right now, Sean runs an agency right now that is worth more than a lot of the people that I've taught, right? Um, I think he's said he's somewhere in north of 500,000. I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure he's north of 500,000 a year. Um, and he got his start, not his start, let's say his start in pay-per call. He started with me, yes, but he's always been trying to do agency stuff and has done agency stuff in the past. So he does have a little bit of experience to lean on when it comes to that kind of stuff. Um, but most of that's life experience and business mindset as opposed to actually running the pay-per-call agency model. And now if you notice, he's been focused largely on expanding the agency and its service and its services and its offerings, but a lot to do with pay-per-call, believe it or not. And you heard him say he's bringing on 3 new clients. Um, he's got a ton of clients, and I know that 5 or 6 of them are currently on pay-per-call, and he's had marked improvement. He's doing better in that area, and now he's going to be doing even better after this course correction. But that's it doesn't take. I mean, it doesn't take notice hundreds of clients to produce, you know, 500,000 a year. I mean, he's got like a handful, right? I mean, he gets up to a dozen clients, and it's very easily to calculate a 7-figure a year business for him. I mean, that's why he says, "Oh, I'd like to be at 1 million at the end of next year," and I'm like, "Really? I think I think you're going to be way further along than that." Um, and I'm not blowing smoke up his ass. I'm telling him the truth. Like if he goes after a couple, 2, 3 dozen clients in this vertical, he's going to do very well for himself. Not counting all the other services and offerings he can sell to his clients because he has experience in that. But specifically just from pay-per-call, right? That's you know, I mean, a 10-figure a year business, most people would only dream of that, or and if they aren't dreaming of that and they're shooting for it, they've got to do something they don't enjoy or something they don't believe in. Whereas this is 8 figures a year doing something 10 million and up that you um, enjoy, love. People benefit. Everybody that that comes into contact with your agency or its offerings and services and ads benefits and wins. That's man, there's um, there's value in that for sure. So anyway, that said, that could be you very easily. Sean got his start in pay-per-call maybe only a couple years ago, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I think. Uh, and it hasn't taken him that long to build. He just had some learning lessons along the way, and now look at where he's at, right? I'm just saying that could be you. That could be you. Um, Adrian says, "Who is Sean? Did he come on today?" Yeah, Sean was on the call with me earlier, right? That's the campaign review that we worked through with Sean Vukorovich. Um, he's been around for, like I said, he and I have known each other for a while, at least 2.5 years. I'm pretty sure, somewhere in 2018, I believe, maybe earlier, but at least 2018 when he started building the agency out on pay-per-call. That much I remember. And he started in actually a different vertical than he's in now. And like I said, learning lessons. He came back at it again because he knew that's where he wanted to be. He saw the value in it, applied it to the vertical that he liked, and fast forward to where he's at now, and then look at where he's going to be in 6 months. That's the crazy thing. To me, it is anyway, because I see that. I see the potential he has. Always have, but I'm just saying where he's at right now it puts most people that even teach pay-per-call to shame. You got people out there talking about, look how I built a 7-figure business, and it's like, okay, well, if you're not doing at least 8 figures, I'm not saying you don't have a right to teach things because everybody has a right to teach whatever they want, I guess. But when your students are doing better than most of the teachers out there, that's when you know you're really hitting the mark in terms of teaching, right? And the student quality as well. You know, Sean's not a dummy by any means, right? He's very smart, very intelligent, and quick decision maker. Like you heard him say, I'm getting rid of those partners. Should have done it sooner, but I'm getting rid of them. Very decisive, right? That's a good trait of a successful business owner, 100%. And in this case, agency owner. So kudos to him on that. I didn't say that to him earlier, but I don't think. But that was a smart thing, and not only smart, wise, I guess. It's even more than smart. But yeah, Sean's been around. He's actually in the mentorship as well. So we have calls over there where when he shows up, we cover things like this, and we have in the past, and we'll continue to do so. But as always, like any stream that I do, whether it's for December Dash, whether it's for the 14th and 28th that I do over in the main group here, or in the mentorship weekly, right? Every Monday weekly we do this these kind of sessions as well. They're not different. Like I know sometimes I say we're going to have a different format. We're going to shoot for this or shoot for that. And yes, we get through that more or less, like for December Dash, but then I open it up for questions. And so if you need to talk to me about campaigns or share some things on client acquisition or get some course correction, whatever part of the agency is that you need help, maybe multiple, I'm here for that. I'm not going to just turn you away because nope, we're here for December Dash and it's been 59 minutes and we're out, unless I have another call scheduled at the top of the hour, right? Like I did yesterday. Outside of those rare instances, then yeah, I'll stay on with you as long as we need to get things done for you, right? And keep you moving in the right direction. And the same information I give here is the same kind of information, same quality of information I give in the mentorship. It's not like I'm holding anything back. The difference is they get more frequency, right? Because they're in the mentorship. You guys get 2 calls a month for free, and it'll always be that way. But and that's also why I encourage you highly to take advantage of the December Dash calls, because I'm here once a day, every day. For an entire month. I've never done something like that before, actually ever, in terms of live streaming, and it's been interesting, right? I've seen some interesting things happen and come from it that it's not over yet, so I haven't taken the full account yet, but it has definitely been different, and for better or worse, either way, I'll evaluate at the end, but there's been some really awesome things, and there's been some things that are of concern that I'm going to tweak and modify and mold to your advantage for next year, right? That kind of thing. So anyway, enough about all that. Go do your work, get at it, and make this week count. And I'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. and get the help you need, right? Get the help you need when you need it, before you need it even. And you'll be where Sean's at in no time, right? And beyond. Absolutely. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys again, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, right here on December Dash. All right, bye for now.
Cool. UFO. Back on my shit with a new advantage. I leave it up to you to settle the damage. Diamond, yeah, I know it's foreign to him. I came from the guts of rural Alabama. Steph Curry wrist, watch what they handle. Simple motors, gotta lead by example. Not too many make it out when they doubt. Never been about bailing off of my route. Rain gang, got the city HD. Hate to see my brother die every week. Numb to your vision. My life got me too fucked up. Disrespect to make a nigga go dumb. Pillow talking while you nursing that bitch and turn you to a scrub. I let prices from the plug, Bay Shore, Ocean View, or win Adidas with the boots. Niggas out here slinging arbitrage, so the money really no excuse. Welcome to the realm.